Mayor Hernan.
Oh, present.
Vice Mayor Moncada.
Present.
Councilmember Broglio is absent. Councilmember Shemente.
Present.
Councilmember Sherrod.
Present.
Staff is present.
Okay, we'll do the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 3. Item 3 is approval of the agenda as posted or amended. Does anybody have any amendments to make or request of agenda? Any members of the public here have a request to amend the agenda? Okay, seeing none, I'm looking for an approval, a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion. I'll second. And a second. Rose?
Shemente.
Aye.
Sherrod.
Aye.
Moncada.
Aye.
Hernan.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 4 is public comment. The public may address the council on any item of public interest not otherwise on the agenda that is within the jurisdiction of the city. No action may be taken. Matters to be addressed may be referred to city staff or placed on a subsequent meeting agenda. Speakers will be limited to 5 minutes per person. Do we have anyone here that would like to speak during public comment?
Don't look at me.
You're the
I
only
don't-
one. How about anybody online with us?
There's nobody online.
Nobody online. They're all floating away in the storm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so seeing no public comment, we will close that. And item 5 is our consent agenda. We do have 3 items on the consent agenda. Does anybody have any reason to pull any of those items?
Can I ask you a question?
Pull it, and then we can talk.
Okay, I'm gonna pull A.
Okay. We have item A being pulled. Anything else by anybody else? Seeing none, do we have any public comment about the consent agenda? Seeing no public comment, I'm looking for a motion for items B and C on consent.
Make the motion.
I'll second. We have a motion and a second. Rose, please.
Shemente.
Aye.
Sherrod.
Aye.
Moncada.
Aye.
Hernan.
Aye.
Thank you.
Take it back. I need to recuse myself from that because I was not at the February 16th.
Okay.
So I will not make, and that's okay. So
No worries.
There's still 3.
Thank you. Okay, so Caroline, what do you have to say?
I
on
had
item?
a question on item A. So that was the special meeting, the JPA meeting. And one of the things that I had asked to be put under one of the items, made it onto the sticky note up on the wall, but didn't make it into this minutes.
Okay.
So can we add that in there?
Sure.
Okay, great. So it was under the topic of when should a special meeting be called? And what the item I brought up was a natural disaster.
Yes, that was done at the very end, Mom.
Yeah.
Okay.
That didn't make it into the
Yeah.
minutes. So
I'll make
I know-
sure that the other 2 know.
Please
too.
let them know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So we will be revising item A.
Mhm.
And I'm looking for any other public comment on item A? Seeing none, looking for a motion for item A as amended.
So moved.
We have a motion.
Second.
Rose?
Shemente.
Aye.
Sherrod.
Aye.
Moncada. Hernan.
Aye.
Thank you.
Item 6 is our regular agenda, and our first item is a Caltrans presentation. We have Casey Corey here from District 10. He's our project manager. No other person's here with you, right? We have
No,
another-
yes.
okay. So welcome, Casey.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So, thank you for introducing me. My name is Corey Casey. I'm a project manager at Calaveras. I'm taking this project over. I've had it for since about April or so. And, you know, better.
Uh-huh.
So, you know, today I'm going to give you kind of an update of where we stand with the project and what our schedule is, and let you guys answer any questions that you might have. Next slide, please.
Oh,
That was mine.
that was yours?
I turned my microphone off right at that time. Did it do that?
There it goes. Okay. So. Right.
All right, so this is a mobility project, and it's going to be at two intersections, at 4 and 49, and then 49 and Francis Street. And what the purpose of the project is we're going to install a hybrid roundabout at 4 and 49, and I'll talk a little bit more about what the hybrid roundabout is in some of the later slides, and then I also have an animation that shows them functioning as well. And then we're going to install a single lane roundabout at 49 Francis Street, similar to what you've probably seen at other intersections. And then, you know, the purpose of the project is to improve mobility through Angels Camp, and then also to help improve bicycle and pedestrian facilities as well. So there'll be a bunch of sidewalk and things that go in with this, and it's going to connect right up to the other project that we have to the south. Next slide, please. So I'm going to blow this photo up and show each roundabout and some future slides, but these are, you know, kind of the layouts as we have them now for the two roundabouts. This picture you're looking, the bottom roundabout is the 4 and 49, and then that top roundabout is there at Francis and 49. And you know, as you guys know, this intersection it's busy, especially busy, you know, during the morning and evening commutes when people are traveling to and from work. But also, you know, this area gets a lot of recreational traffic on the weekends and holidays, and a lot of tourism. And so, because of kind of the configuration of 449, where, you know, you have a lot of businesses and access points like right there, right at the intersection, it's getting really congested, and it's not performing at the level of service that we would like. So this is what, you know, really initiated the project. And one of the key, you know, problems that we see with the intersection as it exists today is there's not a lot of storage on 49. You know, there's not a lot of opportunity for storage on 49 too, because you're developed all the way out to the, you know, the sides of the street. And so those left turn pockets, they're getting filled up, and then it's backing up the main line. And then that's contributing to the congestion you have. 49 is pretty heavily traveled. We're getting almost 9,000 vehicles per day on average through on 49, and then 6,000 on Highway 4. So pretty significant traffic volumes for the area. So the purpose, you know, is to, you know, reduce that traffic congestion by constructing the roundabouts. It's going to improve the traffic circulation through the area. It's going to provide better access to those businesses. And then, you know, one of the main benefits is really safety. This project is a mobility improvement project, but we always will go with a roundabout for a safety improvement project if we're having problems at an intersection. If we can install a roundabout there, it's going to always be our go-to because it is the safest intersection that we construct. Caltrans has a goal for 0 fatalities by 2050.
Wow.
And every, you know, intersection that we've chosen to move forward and install a roundabout on a state facility, we haven't had a single fatality on a Caltrans constructed roundabout in the state. So it is our safest of all of our intersection improvement projects. And that's really why, you know, our go-to. When you have had, you know, just at this intersection, there has been an issue with accidents through the study period, which was, it was April 2019 through March 2022. There was 16 collisions there that varied in severity, but there was 2 head-ons, which were real severe. There was a side slide, 6 rear ends, and then 6 broadside collisions, which is really severe as well, the T-bone. And the cause of those were almost always due to drivers' failure to yield. And so that's pretty common, you know, that we see at intersections we have a problem. And so the roundabout's definitely going to improve that. People, when they come into the roundabout, they slow down to, you know, 25, 30 miles an hour, and they behave because they have to. So you have those free right turns, and it really eliminates that broadside collision, which is, you know, it's challenging for us to eliminate any other way, as well as, you know, the head-on collisions because they're separated by center islands. So the need for the project is that we are experiencing frequent delays and congestion here. And then we need to also improve the facilities so we can accommodate pedestrian and bike traffic, and the roundabout's going to help with that as well. Next slide, please. So I blew this up at 4:49, and we are doing an open house on May 7th. I'm hoping to have some better conceptual drawings for you guys then, so this makes a little bit more sense. It's kind of hard to read this way, but we'll clean this up if you guys are able to attend the open house on March 7th. I'll try to get something better, but basically at each leg, the way that we're designing it now, I'll start with South 49. Maybe I'll work my way around. So as you're coming down on, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So,
So
light it, come on.
as you're working, you just start up here and working your way down. So as the traffic's coming in, the lane's gonna split, and then we're gonna the traffic in the right lane, they're gonna be able to make a right, they're gonna be able to go through, and they're gonna be able to make a left. And I have an animation of this coming up. You'll be able to see it'll make a lot more sense. And then the left lane will be a left turn only or a U-turn. So for this direction of travel. So it really opens up when you come to the roundabout. You're gonna come in, every leg comes in as a single leg, but then it widens out to 2 lanes and creates a ton of space for people to navigate through the roundabout. Similar configuration on 49 North. You'll have the right turn, you'll have it through, and then if you want to make a left, you'll make it from the left lane. For the 4 eastbound, you'll have a through lane you'll be able to make a right and a through, and then if you want to make a left, you have to make it from the left lane. And then there's actually coming from the west on 4, we actually have a divided median, so you'll have a nice right turn into the facility, and then if you want any other movement, you have to use that right lane. So, and I'll show that.
So
You're gonna see that in the
there's
animation.
two lanes in the center?
2 lanes in the center, correct? Yeah. So, and then at the other intersection, it's just a single lane roundabout. Next slide. And so right now, yeah, we're just proposing a simple, and this may change a little bit. We're still kind of working with the layout, but this is a kind of where we're, heading right now. We're still in the early stages of design. So we're kind of playing with the layout and the position of the roundabout, but right now we really like where this one sets because it solves like a lot of problems for us. And this right here at Baker Street, we need to put like a cul-de-sac in through here to turn buses around, school buses or trucks or whatever. But we're also considering bringing this and connecting back down here to Francis Street and letting traffic and making this a one-way. So we're still exploring both. Right now we're kind of leaning towards the cul-de-sac. It's kind of simple, but we may change that up and have it through here. And then this would be just a one-way. So you would access Baker Street from 49 and then exit on Francis. If you wanted to come back and make a left turn, you would just go through the roundabout. So.
Next slide.
When will you know what you're gonna do?
So we're trying to nail things down soon because we want to move on with our right of way and making offers. I think we're probably a good maybe 4 to 6 weeks away from making a decision on the final layout. We have 2 concepts, both work really well, but this is the one that we were favoring.
Got it, thank you.
Can you speak to the crosswalks a little bit on this option?
Yeah.
Like, how does a crosswalk work in this scenario?
Okay. So this is perfect. I wish I brought a better. I have an image of it. I can pull it up if I can share my screen. So the crosswalks these are the crosswalks down here. So you'll come in and then you cross, and there's a center island, and it's a breakaway in there. So it's flat right through it's cut out through the island. So you'll come in and you have the raised dots also here. So you come onto the ramp, and then you can come to the center island. You could stage there, like if it's busy and there's a lot of traffic. A pedestrian can stage there and then cross. So they can come here, look to their left, come to the center island, look to their right, and cross.
And it's like a median that's just like.
Yeah, it's just a curve.
Okay.
That's all the way across, right? That's
Yeah, so every intersection will look like that, and this will be standard at all the roundabouts. So pedestrian traffic can cross. If if there is quite a bit of traffic, they can wait in the center island and then move across.
So is there any kind of blinking light or anything that allow, that warns the vehicles that there's pedestrians in the crosswalk case, or will they light up, or how will that, or are they kind of on their own as they go through the crosswalk?
They're on their own as they go through the crosswalk.
Okay.
Is that the same at the other?
Exactly, yes. So it's similar to like a mid, intersection crosswalk, where you just, have like a crosswalk that is, not at an intersection, right? You could do the same thing. It's just cross the street. It's kind of similar concept.
Yeah, because the 449 is pretty busy with pedestrians.
Right.
It is.
Yeah.
It seems like all of the other
Children.
all of the other intersections that are to be improved in the city or even in the county have ADA restrictions with blinking lights and the sounds and the
Right.
buttons and all that, but this is being left out of a crosswalk scenario. That might be a little concerning.
I can take that feedback back to the team and have them potentially look at, some sort of warning light. But you can't, because it's not a signalized intersection,
Yeah.
you can't control
Yeah.
it, right? So, I'll take that feedback back though, and you look at it and see.
Next slide.
So, this is an animation. Hopefully you're able to play it.
I just hit.
Yeah, this one shows the two projects combined with the other, with the sidewalk project. If we wanted to fast forward it.
I don't know. Oh, maybe right here.
Maybe I could send you a link real quick? Go ahead.
Okay, well, we're doing that. Can we talk about Dogtown Road and how that's gonna change? Dogtown will be a right only coming.
Yeah, if you're heading north, let me pull up that layout. So correct. So when you come out of Dogtown, like you'll only be able to make a right turn.
Right-hand turn.
And then you'll go down to Francis Street roundabout if you wanna, and then loop around if you wanted to go left. So it'll be able to accommodate STA trucks a full, turnaround. So if there's a logging truck or something that came through, they can do a U-turn at Francis and come back.
And so Dogtown will essentially be a one-way street then, at that point?
No, you will still be able to, it'll still be a
You still
two-way.
can make a left-hand.
You can still
I
make
mean, I can
a,
make a right-hand turn down
Right.
Dogtown.
yeah, and so say you were coming, south on 49, and you would go through the roundabout, and then make a U-turn, and then come and make a right onto Dogtown.
Okay.
And then if you're exiting Dogtown, you're only gonna be restricted to a right-hand turn, but then you can go to Francis Street, make the U-turn, and come back down 49
And the
south.
only exception was they have a gap for Cal Fire, for like the dozer coming out. The dozer can actually get out and not have to do the roundabout then to go back, right? Coming out of
What
Cal
about the
Fire.
entrance? Yeah, so I don't know if are you stuck on that slide?
No, let me try and go back. I want
So,
to see
I
this
think-
one really
I think,
quick.
so back on the
How do
first
I make it
intersection, the
Do I double
Dogtown
click it?
and the main.
This one.
If you're heading north on 49, or if you're coming out of Dogtown and heading north to San Andreas, there's the entrance to McDonald's is right there. And then the next entrance is the Cal Fire Station.
Oh,
So
that's the
can
next
you
one.
turn left into, you can turn left into McDonald's right there, or you go down to Francis and come down? and
No,
come
there's
back?
a turn pocket right there.
There's a
Yeah,
turn
and so you can turn into that shopping center and access that right there. And then I believe we made a block out for the fire department just beyond
This
that.
one?
There we go. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, and then there's a block out, there's a break in the curb for the fire department.
You're right
So there
there.
is a turn.
So that's the left turn pocket for the shopping center, and just beyond that is a fire station, and there's a block. So we have pretty much a continuous center, island that goes down from the roundabout to between the two roundabouts. But there's a break out in front of the fire station.
So that's how emergency vehicles would access anything that happens in a roundabout during that center island then?
Correct.
Okay.
So I think at one time, there was also concern at the last meeting at the school that
Sometime.
Dogtown, if folks choose not to use Dogtown because it restricts them from having to go down and turn around and come back, they're gonna go back on Dogtown, hit Gardner Lane and hit Murphy's Grade Road to come back, which takes them right by the high school. And was kind of a deterrent or a it was less advantage because at that time, the gentleman wasn't aware that was where our high school was, or I don't know,
There was that access.
You know, I think this is gonna be easier making a right and going down the Francis. We're pulling cows out of Dogtown Road. It's tough to get across that intersection. And so typically now what I do is I go down Gardner and come up Murphy's Grade Road to the stoplight, because it's easier to navigate that than trying to get across the lanes of traffic. So that, I think once people get used to it, it might be an easier thing to do, to go down 2 blocks, come around Francis and go back, as opposed to trying to go across.
I definitely think if you're pulling a trailer, it's gonna
if
be
you're pulling
much
trailer, but the people
easier
that wanna
for
try to
logging trucks and, yeah.
get there fast, they wanna shave that 3 seconds
Yeah.
off there when they're hauling and they're gonna do it.
I'm
you know?
not familiar with that route though. Is that gonna be shorter distance or like time wise than just,
When
cause
they-
it's pretty
when they
quick to
break
come
through.
out and hit that roundabout. I can't imagine that's gonna add more than,
And
less
go
than a
all the way
minute.
down Gardner and Murphy's and go
Right,
back
and then
up.
come back up
And then
and sit
come
at
back
that light
Yeah,
to turn either, like,
Yeah.
I think this would be faster. I think it would be faster to go down to
Yeah.
Francis and turn around. I think people just get used to it. They'll just figure it once they do it. I don't know.
we can take a look
But
at that.
but you're gonna get
That's
that
the thing
question.
I remember.
You're gonna-
was-
Yeah, you're gonna
That's
get
gonna
that
come up
question.
on March,
Concern.
she's right, yeah, that
Okay.
was one of the,
Just be prepared for that.
We'll take a look at that when we'll be ready to talk about that at our March 7th open house. Okay,
Let's do your little video after the presentations, yeah?
sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
You already emailed it to me?
I did, yeah.
Okay, so let's go on to the next one.
Okay.
oh,
So I do it. This animation will come back and I'll email it to her and
Yeah.
we'll play it. So.
wow.
So our current engineer's estimate for this project for the capital is 9.2 million. So we're already through like our environmental stage, we achieved PAED in June, at the end of June 2023. So we're in the design phase now. And so we started the design phase in October 2023. So we're coming along, we're moving, pretty well. We have a good concept. And we're expecting to have like the right of way and the design done and be ready to advertise this, for contractors to bid. We call ready to list in May 2026.
So Keith, how much bigger is a roundabout gonna be than the current intersection?
Footprint wise, the roundabout, it's not going to be too much bigger. It fits nicely in the footprint. We have some sliver widenings, right at the intersection, but like to widen out as opposed to a widening as a signalized intersection, right? We don't have the space on 49 to get that capacity that we need for those turn pockets because all the businesses, everything's right there real tight next to the highway. So the roundabout solves that problem for us. We can keep it nice and tight.
Okay.
As you come into it and then open it up, there's space in the intersection. The intersection's pretty wide.
Okay,
So,
okay.
so with the roundabout scenario, there's no lost encroachments at those 4 property owners. That's
so at the 4, we are at the south west corner. There's a house right there on the corner. We're planning a full take there because we won't be able to maintain access to that house.
Is that the
That's
Wendy's house?
It's Valenti's.
Yeah, that's, I think, yeah.
And then we have some sliver takes at each of the corners, but they're very small.
Okay.
So the health food store and the old hardware store, those will remain.
Yeah, at 449, there's nothing that is going to impact anything existing except for that house at the southwest corner. That's the only thing that's major that's going to be impacted at that intersection. Then at 449 and Francis Street, there's 3 full 3 full takes and a partial. So, and that,
Next slide.
yeah, so if we award, wait 1 second, if we award probably September, 2026, and a approval, just depending on how that schedule works out, there's a chance they could start construction in 2026, but, we would definitely expect to see by the spring, 2027, then, full construction, so. And access to all the businesses during construction will be maintained. We have, we have specifications in our contract that, require the contractor to maintain access to businesses during construction. So, any more questions? And then I'll show the animation.
Was the last town hall meeting recorded?
I'm not sure if it was, that was in February.
I don't think it was. It was in February. I don't believe it was.
Okay.
He was having a lot of technical difficulties.
Yeah.
He was. Okay. I just want to make sure you get the questions that were
That's
prominent at that meeting.
okay.
So you're
They do,
prepared.
yeah, so all of those questions that were, people that filled out the comment cards.
Okay.
And then they have the comment period after that meeting. There were quite a few that came in and every single one of them got a response.
I was doing some research on roundabouts because it almost like you're calling your mom a dirty name when you say roundabout. And in a 2020 study for 1 million folks, the US has 73 and France has 967. And so they're really common every place else except in the United States. And I think every time you enter a roundabout, you think that you're not going to come out the other side.
You think of like the Roman Colosseum.
Yeah.
I mean, you think of, the Arc de Triomphe, that those are roundabouts that have been around for thousands of years.
Right.
So it's not like this is a
And
new
I just have
concept.
to interject, when I was traveling in Europe after college, my very first encounter with a roundabout was in Rome on a Vespa. And the Roman drivers are crazy. I got on a Vespa and I was afraid to get out of it.
Yeah.
I went around for 40 minutes and I ran out of gas.
Yeah.
But
The good news is you can keep
Yeah,
going around
and
till you get
it's-
out.
And in case I think you heard us, one of the issues for me is, access for fire and police. And the other one is pedestrian safety, the crosswalks. And my other question is, I was behind someone coming out of the shopping center the other day, trying to make a left-hand turn lane. And now it seems like there are brakes when the lights change, it's easier. But with no lights to mitigate the flow of traffic, the traffic's gonna continue to flow. Can Caltrans look at only making that a right-hand turn, so they go through the roundabout and go the other way?
The Frogtown Plaza, is that right?
Yeah, Frogtown
So
Plaza.
that will be a right turn only when you exit, so,
Okay, it will be.
yeah, so you'll
Okay.
have to go down and go through the roundabout.
Okay, good.
So you turn.
That's a lot safer.
And with the roundabout, does that then give us more access off 4 into Frog Jump Plaza? Like, will there be an option for people coming from Greenhorn Creek to go into CVS without having to go through the 449
That's a separate
boundary?
project.
But I'm just,
I guess that's the question that I have. So we do have another project potentially that could gain access off of 4 into the CVS shopping center that we talked about. That potentially would lighten a good portion of the load of the current entrance, because it's gonna get divided in half or maybe more, I don't know. So would that be re-evaluated, re-engineered before moving forward on this?
So
I mean, 'cause I think your last engineering was like in
development plan.
2015.
Yeah, and we are aware of your guys' development plan. That single lane roundabout, and just to put it kind of in perspective, is the single lane roundabout will work at 4 and 49. That's how much volume you can push through a single lane roundabout. We're trying to, push that life expectancy out much further than what we would typically design for. But we can get 20 years, life expectancy out of just a single lane roundabout at 449. So at 49 in Francis, it's going to definitely be able to accommodate your guys' future expansion plans there.
And then last time you talked at publicly, I think it was February, I think there was still the other option on the table. Has that been taken off the table? I know this is the preferred
Yes.
option, so is that gonna be on March 7th? Is that gonna be your presentation to the public?
Yeah, we've selected, we finished when we moved into the design phase. We did the public comment period and, the roundabout, it scored higher on our ICE analysis. There was nothing that, through the public comment period, there was nothing concerning that shied us away, from putting the roundabout in. We feel like it's the best concept. It has the best operational, as far as operation standpoint. It performs the farthest period to the signalized intersection. The other alternatives has the longest life expectancy. It is about $1 million more expensive than our signalized intersection project, but over the lifespan of the project, the maintenance costs and everything associated with it becomes cheaper on a life cycle. For the life cycle of each alternative, it's a cheaper alternative.
And then in terms of the comments, there were still quite a few comments that said, I agree with the roundabout, but we need a different entrance into Project Plaza. So there were a lot of comments about that, which is, it's a separate project. So, I mean, we are working on that. We're making, headway on that. We're hoping to have, something more solidified by fall of this year. But that's gonna be needed. And I think what's gonna happen is, yes, it will, kind of take some of the issue off of that traffic congestion. But we're also looking at development in that area. So you're just gonna have more, right? So I think the idea is to look at this from a next generation.
Right.
And
And it's not just Angels Camp, it's everything up the
It's
hill. So
everything.
the ski resort's looking at, expanding their staff. Everybody's up the hill. Everyone has to go through.
Yeah. We did, if you think of the 50,000, unique visitors that go up to Murphy's, they're coming through that corridor. They're coming and stuff. Oh.
Did you get the videos?
It's come.
I'm excited. Sitting down.
Should come now.
I know, it's the videos are kind of cool.
Yeah.
We don't have quite the budget as some of the CGI people out there, but our animators do a pretty good job.
I like the one of, well, I don't know if you've seen the one of the sidewalk projects. That one is great.
So this is a continuation of the sidewalk project. So you're welcome. We can watch the whole thing, or we could just fast forward to the end when we get to the roundabout. But we tied them all together into one thing that we're gonna play on a loop through March 7th, so people can kind of see what the whole thing is going to look like, the whole corridor.
Did you send it?
I did. Let me send it.
Do you need a zip?
Corey, what is our expectancy in terms of once construction starts? Obviously, there's always hiccups and things of that sort, but do we have any idea of how long it's gonna take?
Yeah. So we'll work out I would say, this project is probably going to be a 200 working day job. We haven't worked out a CPM yet. That just based on about how long similar projects take. There's some drainage improvements that need to be done through here. There's quite a bit of sidewalk in between the two, but I would expect somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 working days.
Okay, I got it.
Oh, great. We can play the whole thing. It's about 5 minutes, or if you fast forward it to minute 2, we'll see just the roundabout. It's up to you guys.
I'm okay watching the whole thing. You guys
Okay.
good?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. It's good. So this is the other project, the sidewalk job that we have, and that's coming through. You guys are aware of. There's quite a bit of landscaping that's going in with it. It's going to look really nice when it's complete.
And there were flashing lights there, I noticed. On the
Yes.
Crosswalk.
I want to live there.
We are working, with them, so some of this landscaping we swapped out for, drought resistant, low maintenance. But it'll still be really pretty.
You even have wind blowing through those trees on people.
If we take your DMVs out, they're great.
Great. Hey, I might not start on my age.
All right, so now we're
training in high school.
coming into our project. See that we're splitting into 2 lanes like I just talked about. And we have the movements that you can make all striped and laid out on the pavement, so people know, how to navigate. So you can see that, that's that left turn into the shopping center right there.
Right.
It's not shown here, but there is a break in
It's
this.
there.
Oh, it's there.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so the break for the fire department.
Mhm. Look at that.
Even snuck a wayfinding sign in there. I saw it.
We had talked at one time about making sure that we could, at the 4 and 49 roundabout, that we could have signage to direct people to go downtown. So that it doesn't just get just sucked up to going.
That's
So
the
that was allowed.
wayfinding.
But I mean, within the roundabout, we have that ability
Oh,
to.
inside the roundabout?
Yeah.
That wasn't a designated sign area.
No, that was.
But I don't
gonna
think
be
it was the
with David.
wayfinding. I think we talked about there being like something that was nostalgic
Oh,
to,
like a card.
like,
Yeah.
Oh, like
Yeah.
some
maybe
artwork or something.
There's definitely an opportunity for us to, partner and come up. Caltrans typically we offer like a cooperative maintenance agreement. If you guys would like to do, something in the center, we're definitely open to partnering with you guys and put in, some architectural treatment that represents the local community that
Mhm.
kind of is like a signature as you come into town, lets people know where you are.
Who maintains that roundabout?
So we would maintain, if we wanted to do an architectural treatment in the center,
Mhm.
we would want to go into a maintenance agreement. You would maintain just the center, but we would maintain everything else.
I guess the reason I'm asking is because sometimes some of the roundabouts that I've seen, of course, they're not 2 lanes, they're single lanes. And they do have all the skid marks on them from trailers that have gotten up on and they're chipped away and things like that. So if it does start to deteriorate in that manner, who repairs that?
So Caltrans does, and what you're seeing is that apron so couple parts to a roundabout is you have the center like decorative island, and this a roundabout will have that as well. And then you have a truck apron, and it's raised, but it's rollable, like you're saying. And you'll see marks and tire marks, but it's designed for large trucks to come over and utilize
meant to
that
be
tire
driven
marks.
on
But it's
then?
meant to be driven on.
Okay.
So absolutely, if it starts
It's
deteriorating,
not a
whatever,
sidewalk, yeah.
it's not. But it's our joint plane concrete pavement. It's a heavy duty structural section. It's designed to be rolled over by large trucks.
So Casey, that section by I always call it Button Pet, by the Chevron downtown with the hill, there won't be a sidewalk in between where we stopped with the first phase and connecting to that mini mart then. Is that correct? I didn't see.
I don't have that project in my portfolio, but
Okay,
I could find out for you and
Okay,
and get that answer. I'll make a note of that and ask.
okay.
Are you talking about,
Across from the park.
Across from the park,
oh,
that hillside.
yeah. I have to go back and think.
That would be the project.
The sidewalks are on the park side.
Well, all the new sidewalks that are on across from the park too, but they stop where,
Yeah, they stop right there. Are you talking about going to
That's right.
downtown?
yeah, that would continue.
There's nothing that goes downtown. It
From-
stops
from
like
that side.
right at the park,
At
right there, right before the our Napa building. It stops.
So that would be a whole other, project.
Yeah, so
Not in
just,
the works yet.
pardon?
Not in the works yet. Right?
Yeah, you saw like the bike lane stops and everything.
Yeah, everything just stops. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Just be prepared for this.
Yeah, we definitely, especially communities who haven't had, that don't already have existing roundabouts, pretty common, for people to be concerned about it and have concerns about navigating. And so we're going to have all of our technical experts there and subject matter experts that are prepared to, answer, the questions for everybody and on safety, on operations. And we'll have our design folks there. So yeah, we'll be definitely ready to hopefully change everybody's mind who's,
I think in your
convinced
favor, you have this, which is a great visual aid.
Right.
But also in your favor, there's been some roundabouts that have popped up in our neighboring county, so people are more familiar with them. It's not such an unknown or a fear.
Yeah, people have had some time. They've had a year since the last meeting. What was the time of that meeting? Is it 4? 4 o'clock.
And if you recall, Corey and I were talking about, scheduling a mock roundabout at the fairgrounds at some point. We were thinking maybe later this fall, or
Yeah, when it
we'll
cools
see how the
off.
scheduling goes. But that would be beneficial because we're saying it will meet the needs of large trucks. But I think there's still the concern that will it really? So it'll give people an opportunity to try it out. And then also just people who just aren't used to driving through them.
Or
give
somebody
them an
maybe with an
opportunity to do it.
RV
Yeah.
with a tow, that might want to go out there and just do it so that they can see that they can actually do it.
And we're gonna bring a big truck through too. We're gonna have our maintenance station, as you guys know, is right here. So we're gonna load something up big and bring something big through it so everybody can see. If I'm sure there'll be, some trucks and things show up, but we're gonna be ready to show people that, something large can come through.
Scott, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I don't think so. Like everything else, it's gonna be a learning curve for people, and I think education before that intersection opens up is gonna be key to teach people up here how to maneuver through those intersections. As far as traffic collisions, everything's gonna be low speed in there. Cars will slow down, so you're not gonna have like green light, yellow light, red light, trying to hurry up and get through that intersection. So if there is a collision there, it should be clearable where it's not gonna block the intersection for a while. That's a little bit of a concern, is that once you get cars stuck in there, what's it gonna do to the rest of the traffic trying to flow through that intersection? But that's roundabouts. So I don't think that's an issue. One of the things I thought I don't know if you guys can, but with that video that you just showed, if you can throw a logging truck or something and they're moving through there, it might be beneficial visually for people seeing
I'll
that,
get that added.
you know, getting
Yeah.
that.
Because do they take both of the lanes when they're navigating around? Do they?
So they'll use that truck apron.
Yeah.
You'll see like, especially like if a like a large truck that's pushing the limits of, you know, a California legal truck, that they'll need to utilize that truck apron to make the U-turn. So it's not so much if they're going through, you know, they'll probably barely roll over it, but if they're making the U-turn, they need to use, you know, pretty much quite a bit of that space. So.
What's the law on, 'cause I don't know, if an emergency vehicle is trying to get through the roundabout and you're in the roundabout, do you go through the roundabout and then pull over? I mean, I can't imagine you're pulling over in the roundabout.
Yeah, because there's really not anywhere.
There's nowhere to pull over, so you gotta get through it and then pull over.
Yeah.
Do you take your non-exit to get off there, or do you go to your exit and then pull over? I don't know.
You mean as a commuter driver, what do you do?
I'm just getting through and all of a sudden, you know, fire department's trying to get through.
It's follow the rules of the road. You're gonna stay on your path until you can get out of the way.
I mean, they can't go faster than me anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna be, you know, you're in and out of that intersection in 7 seconds or something like that, or you should be at regular speed. I don't know what the speeds are anticipated for that.
They're going to be around 25
Yeah.
miles per hour, so that's pretty standard for what we target as a speed limit.
Faster than sitting there at a light.
Yeah, I mean, and they move, right? And like I said, traffic moves through them. Even though you're slowing down, you know, the intersection moves, and you move through it, and then you're on your way. And they do, you know, I mean, it definitely is, as far as operation standpoint, it does function better. It moves the traffic through much more efficiently than the signalized intersection.
So we will add that video to our webpage that has our projects on it.
Great.
Just in advance of that, and then we're gonna, send out, public information in terms of getting that on Google's schedule for the Brett.
Yeah, anything that you guys can do to help advertise for it would be great. Our PIO office is also, in addition, advertising for it as well. So, but you know, we'd like to have a you know, sizable turnout, as many people as possible, and you know, that, I mean, in the end, that's what we want. We're going to go to a project that serves this community that people are happy with. We want to answer the questions. We want to understand what the problems are, so we can find solutions for them. So.
Yeah, I think the turnout was good, lad. It was 50, 60, 75 people there, I think, last time, so. I would imagine we'd have like another good turnout. And it was storming that night.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I-
Public comment, Tad.
That's not a comment. Well, this is off for a couple of years. Why can't maybe the city negotiate to continue with past Park and past Napa to the end of the city project, so
There's connection.
it's connection. And you might get Caltrans funds out of it.
So
Are you familiar with that? It's the same as what?
closing that
She
gap
mentioned
between
Yeah, from this-
downtown and the end of the other project.
That's like a missing component from our project.
So I don't know. I need to go back and look at our portfolio if we have something programmed in our, you know, out. But we go through funding cycles where we fund packages of projects. So, and we only have, you know, so much capacity, you know, in our district and we try to distribute that out, you know, to all the communities. So, you know, I'm sure that we'll be looking at that gap and eventually have a future project that comes in and closes it. But right now we're locked in with our package of projects and our funding cycle for this job cycle. But take that back.
I tried.
And I, as we identify something in the kind of downtown area, we do work with Alan Lau, who's working on the sidewalk project in terms of if there's anything that he can add on to that particular project. I think they're pretty tight on the funding at this point for that one, so there's not much that we can get out of it, but I do regularly bring up that you're gonna see a noticeable change from Utica Park and then when you go downtown. It's just, you know, pedestrian, bike trails and sidewalks and, you know, all of that to nothing.
That's gonna be an expensive addition in that area.
And there's not really anywhere to
No, it's on a hill.
There's nowhere to expand. I mean, even if you want to talk about right of way, then you have to start talking about demoing historic buildings, which is just not anything that we want to do. So, we're trying to look at other options, i.e. the Angels Creek Trail and looking at kind of utilization of different roads, kind of down the back areas that we can utilize for pedestrian walking.
And we'll pick up a little of that gap when we do our parking garage and our parking.
Yeah,
You know,
it
that'll
will.
extend it down.
Yeah.
So Casey, you probably can't answer this question, but, and I know as of January 1st, there's new regulations about crosswalks and having an area that's painted red, I guess, so that you can see whether or not a pedestrian's crossing. Does Caltrans ever consider putting in those motion light crosswalks? I mean, as an after fact, and come in and, because downtown is scary, especially at night.
Right.
You know, with the crosswalks. You know, if they could lit it, if they were activated, lights would activate or something. But, and I don't know, they haven't come in and painted the curbs yet, right? Wasn't that a new law as of the 1st? I thought there was some legislation or laws passed that there's had to be so much clearance before there was a crosswalk. So
There is a delay in that, and there are some exceptions in that. But I do have a quarterly meeting with our D10 group, and we do bring up safety. So I have brought up the fact that we do have issues downtown. And specifically, it's the crosswalks.
Yeah.
And they haven't been painted, they're not reflective anymore. The lighting is not good downtown, so I have had that conversation. Again, that was one of the things, can we add it onto the other project, the sidewalk project? It just doesn't go down there. However, I'm trying to see if we can just identify it as a maintenance component for Caltrans. And so far, they're looking into it, but at the very least, they would do like reflective painting, but nothing more permanent such as flashing lights or anything like that.
I can definitely take that back with us and have, our folks look at it and see maybe crosswalks do need to be freshened up. We have that wet night thermoplastic that, I don't know if you've seen it, it's just closed. Like it's super bright. Maybe we can get that freshened up.
Yeah, it is a safety component. My son works at the theater, and at 10 o'clock at night when he gets off, he usually walks home, and it's been too many close calls, so we just go get him. We don't walk.
Because you can't see them.
It's very, and it's too dark.
I'll drive through and look at it on my way out, and then I'll take that back to our
Thank you.
team.
Thank you.
And just, when you do, just be mindful that usually both sides of the street are full of cars.
Yeah.
So as well as entering a crosswalk, you've also got.
Yeah.
That's right,
Cars
that's right.
back down there. There's
Yeah.
cars on either side and then a crosswalk, so the
Yeah.
line of sight is just really bad.
And then they're wearing dark clothes. All of a sudden they pop out there. Yeah.
Well, Corey, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
Corey.
you.
Yeah,
So
thank
thank
you,
you,
Corey.
a wonderful
Well,
presentation.
hopefully we'll see you all
We'll
on
see you in a
March
few
7th.
weeks. I'll be there. Thank you. Did anybody have any other public comment on this matter? Okay, seeing none, we'll be moving on to item B, and this is our Utica Park update. Amy?
Mayor and council members, you've probably seen the drills and the trenching out there. They're going to be continuing drilling tomorrow. They got 4 holes done today. They'll hopefully do 4 more tomorrow. We met this morning with Boyer and went over a very, very, very detailed list of everything that has to be in the park and the details related to those things. So basically, we have not had any major bad things show up with the geotechnical. Keep your fingers crossed that nothing else shows up, and they're not expecting it to. We had a subcommittee meeting on the 15th, design-wise for the park course. Our meeting tomorrow has been canceled. We're gonna do a little bit more research on the park course. on March the 20th, our committee meeting, we may have a preliminary design showing where everything goes for the committee to look at. So we are moving along. Basically, we've also taken to the Planning Commission a proposal to relocate the monument that is there. Those were actually, I guess, cages that allowed, they took the monitors up and down, and then the ore car across the top. We've been told by our design team that structurally that's not really good. It has been moved before, so we are looking at perhaps incorporating it into our interpretive trail, so you actually know what those components of that are and would be able to see it a little bit better. There's been some talk of relocating the Veterans Monument that's in the park. We have touched base with the family members of everybody who is represented on that monument, and they're all fine if we need to move it around, or even if we needed to put the plaque on a different setting. So that's been taken care of. And basically, that is where we are. We have just short of 175 people following us right now for email blasts, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
What about, the statue is gonna stay where it is, or,
The statue is very likely going to need to be relocated.
okay,
We're
that
in the-
wasn't on the list.
The statue is on the
Yes,
list.
and I didn't, okay, I
The
didn't.
list basically says to rehab the existing statue and then to get a new one
Okay.
also. So our plan had been to do a 3-dimensional scan of it so that it could be reproduced if necessary. And the task I have today assigned to me is to get somebody who is a professional to look at that statue in its current state and make a recommendation about it. It has broken in the past. It has been glued back together in the past. So we need to know, how salvageable is it? We're hoping to simply be able to relocate it in the park. But if somebody comes up and says, hey, it's just going to disintegrate if you keep it there,
Keep it there.
we will bring that to you for further discussion.
Yeah, there is the technology where you envelop it
Yep.
and then you can take a cast of it.
Yes.
Which movie studio donated that?
It was
Was it Warner Brothers?
I
Okay.
Warner Brothers. Yeah, we've got all the gory details on that. 1940, I can't remember the exact date off the top of my head. Any other questions?
So I have one question, Amy, and it's about the budget. So it looks like our actual, we're tracking at about 690,000. And my question is your time included in this? Because we have an
No.
agenda item coming up on you.
My time is not included on this.
Should it be? Can it be? Wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't it be?
Exactly.
Because your time could be recuperated through the grant.
No, it cannot,
But-
but it can be counted as quote unquote match. And we do track it separately so that we can count it as quote unquote match.
For all the meetings that you're doing and the outreach and the.
No, there is no line item in the grant that allows for reimbursing me for any of that time.
But there are COVID funds.
That are all budgeted.
Right, this
So
is-
we
Could
can,
you move that around and use COVID funds to offset?
It's just,
Yeah.
you could, but you're just gonna, take from Paul to pay Peter kind of
But-
thing because they're budgeted.
But at least it would free up the COVID dollar. I mean, if you could.
So
You know
right-
where I'm-
Yeah, so right now, the COVID funds are 400,000 of those COVID relief monies are going towards Utica Park project because we knew there were going to be unknowns. And then 100 and, I can't remember the dollar amount, went to essential premium pay for employees and COVID vaccination incentives. 110,000. And then, so the difference went into paying for a portion of the booster way expense. However, we talked about there's sufficient money in the sewer funds in addition to the fact that we had a critical infrastructure grant that we're still hoping we might actually get funded, but we don't know. And then we took a portion of those monies that some of it was still gonna go to booster and some of it was going to go towards paying for, grants for downtown or buying, you know, the kind of that beautification of downtown, all of those kind of different elements. So we can certainly take monies from any of those and then do that. There was just savings in the general fund for right now, that we could absorb that.
So when you look at the budget, revenues are 3.9 million, expenditures are 3.6, leaves $300,000 plus or minus. Is that 300, are those dollars all grant dollars?
Yes,
All this on here is the grant money.
There's no COVID dollars.
Right.
no, 400,000 is the COVID money.
Yeah.
That's why that little
Yeah.
note says ARPA funds are
Right,
designated for overruns, but they're not identified on here. The 400 ARPA money is not identified on this budget or actual.
Yeah,
Right.
It's identified as revenue. Line number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right here. On the top, 400,000
Oh,
in
right
yellow.
there.
Yeah.
It's part of the revenue.
So I guess I'm thinking we should be tracking everything on here so that we have a way to pay for everything. And you guys see where I'm going with this?
Well,
I mean,
that's
if
what
I'm tracking the money, the budgeted money, then I want to track the actuals and I would have assumed we were tracking the additional money that we're spending.
I asked for that quite some time ago.
Oh.
Amy's time is tracked as a match to the grant right now.
But
Okay.
not on this presentation that we're getting each month,
Yeah,
right?
it's not on
Okay. Can we improve that a little bit or do it in a different way or something so that it's
Yeah,
a
I mean, we could show it as the match going in and out, so it doesn't affect the bottom line, because you're not gonna see your true cost. I mean, it'll show the true cost, but you won't, the bottom line of where you're at with money left of the ARPA money wouldn't show if we're subtracting her time out of there.
But I guess, and maybe Jennifer is asking the same question, can we not have a general fund hit?
That's up to the council.
That's what I think we're,
That's my concern, is that one day we're gonna have this big hit because we weren't doing it. I wasn't understanding the tracking or we weren't.
but, and I think it never became an issue until the other agenda item came up. And then so I started
Then I
thinking,
started thinking, what are we doing?
yeah, how can we fund this? So,
Right,
Does that make
and
sense?
we talked about the fact that, you know, with Amy spending a considerable amount of time on Utica Park, her contract was not gonna be
Well,
sufficient to.
no,
handle that.
exactly, yeah, there's no question.
When she was tasked to add all these meetings and all this outreach, we knew that was going to add a whole bunch to her contract.
I didn't know we couldn't use some of the grant money
I just
to
assumed it
afford
was
that.
coming out of
It's
general
all,
fund.
it's
I
all
didn't-
been spent.
Yeah, I didn't assume it was coming out of this budget at all. I assumed it was coming out of general fund. I didn't know how much it was gonna cost. I knew it was gonna be significant though.
But, you know, the balance between the revenues and expenditures almost matches the COVID dollars. One's $400,000.
No wiggle room,
Pardon?
with no wiggle room.
So I'm just wondering whether or not those COVID dollars could be allocated in a way to offset some of the cost and not have it hit the general fund. That's my
So
question.
are you recommending we pull something from that 400,000 that we're gonna do in the park?
I'm just
And
thinking that,
reallocate it towards
I'm just,
her contract?
well, I'm just thinking there's $324,000 remaining. And
Right,
so that's close to the $400,000 up there, and we're not talking about using all of it, but I just think it's something that could be considered.
well, we already
I don't
been
mean-
asked for one overage,
Right, no, I'm not
but we're not
talking.
even in the throes of it.
No, I get it, I get it.
So what we don't know is what we don't know. So I don't know how much it's gonna cost to cap my Jeffs. I don't know, how much, you know, that's why we met with Boyer Construction today to try to hone in on exactly the different elements. And so they're gonna sharpen their pencils and figure out, you know, what they need to do. In the case of the playground structure, Well, they can't accommodate the excavation or the concrete, curb.
Yeah.
And so they're asking Boyer to take that on. Well, Boyer can't fit it into their budget, so they're looking at us. So that 400,000 is just getting whittled away.
Correct.
At the end of the project, might we still have 80,000? I mean, it's entirely possible.
You're gonna have a 10% change order, at least 10% in this project.
Yep.
And that's gonna whittle through the remaining dollars. I get that. I just would like us to consider, as you're playing with these dollars, to see whether or not you can offset some of the additional costs that we're experiencing using these one-time dollars and not general fund dollars. That's all I'm suggesting. And I think Jennifer is suggesting the same thing.
Yeah.
That's all I'm suggesting. So we if we can, we charge it to what we're doing and not to the general fund. Not cut anything else out, not do anything. It may be something that, Michelle, has to happen after the fact too. You know, but that's what I'm suggesting.
I would rather see it after the fact, just
Yeah.
because I don't wanna make a decision tonight, then we have to reverse the
No,
decision and make another decision.
No, I don't think so, but I just think we should be mindful of, can we charge it?
But 100%, so the rule of thumb is you always spend your most restricted funding first.
Okay.
And you leave your discretionary budget last. So, for right now, we've got everything earmarked. Everything with our COVID relief ARPA money is all earmarked. Are we gonna spend all of it on what it's budgeted for? I don't know.
I'm not
And if
saying
we
pull,
don't,
yeah, I'm not
but
saying
if
pull
we
it.
don't, definitely,
Right,
we'll
yeah,
pull
I'm
it.
not saying to pull it out, I'm not suggesting that we pull it out of different projects or stop doing something. I just think that we should be mindful of using those one-time dollars that aren't grant dollars to offset the time that Amy's spending. That's all I'm suggesting. And I hopefully we do that with every project. And look at that, so it doesn't hit the bottom line. I'm not saying take anything out, I'm not saying change anything. I just think that something should be considered when this project is finished. And you're sitting there.
I have another
Oh,
question, sorry.
Sorry.
Please, yeah.
So I got a call this morning about a rumor, and I just want it to be in public because I don't like rumors. Someone called me and asked if we were planning on selling the property that we acquired to extend the park, and that they had heard we were selling the property.
They
So
are.
I just want to hear on the record, Amy Augustine.
Are you doing some land transfer?
They are in error. We're
Are
not
they?
planning on.
Okay, good.
Really?
Yeah. No, that's good. The amount of rumors that circulate, even with as much as you're doing in outreach, is going to happen, and that's my point. And so I appreciate all that you've been doing, but it's never going to be enough, and that's okay, and I get that. And I will continue to address those rumors as I get calls on them.
Thank you. Please
Thank
feel free
you.
to.
Does anybody
refer
have any
to-
public comment here on the part, questions that we haven't addressed? Anybody online, Rose? No, still nobody. Okay, thank you, Amy. We will move on to item C. And this is to approve resolution number 2414, adding 1177 Main Street, South Main Street, which is assessor's parcel number 062004064, to the City of Angels Register of Cultural Resources. Amy.
Mayor and council members, this is the quarry downtown. The planning commission recommended adding this to the Angels Camp Register of Cultural Resources, among other things. When you put an historic building on that register, it qualifies it for things like the Mills Act. It also qualifies them to use the California Historic Building Code, which allows them some flexibility with dealing with things like ADA and whatnot, so that we can preserve the building and people can still have their commercial development. I'd be happy to answer any questions. The outstanding character of this building happens to be in the fact that the rhyolite that is used was locally quarried. It has some history with some of the local families. But that's one of the big deals is the locally quarried rhyolite that was used and can still be seen in the corners and in the back of the building.
Love it.
So
Happy to
I,
answer any
I
questions.
did, so the rest of that block can't be considered, or it's already considered as a historical building?
You have to apply.
Okay, and so the McCulloughs haven't, or maybe
The
those buildings?
McCulloughs are on the register.
Oh, that building is?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
They are on the register. The building behind them is on the register. This is on the register. The Utica Hotel is on the register. You apply to be put on it. And the eligibility, we are hoping in the future to be able to send notices out to everybody, probably after we bring the Mills Act to you in a month.
That'd be nice.
that's a great idea.
That would be great. Comments, anybody? Questions? Public comment? Okay. So I'm looking for a motion to approve resolution 2414.
So moved.
Do we have a motion?
Second.
And a second, Ruth.
Shemente,
Aye.
Sharada,
Aye.
Moncada,
Aye.
Herndon.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item D. This is to approve resolution 2415, approving a change order for Augustine Planning and Associates. Michelle.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay. So currently, we have the Augustine Planning contract at $90,000 for the year, and as we discussed, there's been some overages identified. One that's currently in progress for the Utica Park. Amy did an estimate for us for time to finish out. Actually, her estimate was January through June, was it?
It's through the end of the fiscal year.
Okay, so through June, for additional costs on Utica Park at $10,200. Looking at roughly estimating what has already been charged in terms of her match, it's around $7,500 of time that's been put towards the match. So this would be additional time. Currently, we have, excuse me, in the budget, a savings in the consulting for under planning. It was some other consultants that were planned that items that did not happen. It wasn't strictly just Amy's contract in that budget. So we do have enough in the general fund to cover the additional charges she's proposing. So you have a couple options. You can either finish out the fiscal year and use the general fund money that's budgeted without having to make a change to the budget, or you can decide if you'd like to designate the ARPA money in the set aside to cover those charges. Right now, what I proposed in the packet here was to use the general fund savings.
And then we can always augment that later.
Mhm. And I can add that match to the report if that would be helpful to see.
So I have a quick question, and this is kind of logistics, because this is kind of my forte at the county. Typically, a change order is language for construction. And when you're dealing with a services type contract, it's not a change order, it's an amendment to a contract. So
We've done.
Can we
task
speak to that?
orders. We just do task orders.
So, but it's not a change order, I guess, and the language changed a little bit. So Deb, you were shaking your head. Are you
Yeah, well, change order is typically
for construction? only?
construction, but if we've got, I don't.
And a
sign this
resolution,
contract, but if it's a scope of work,
Right.
task,
And it's an amount not to exceed.
right.
And so
so are we, I guess I'm just, when we're moving forward into this, are we doing an additional task authorization for the 50,000, or are we doing a resolution 2415, or are we doing a change order?
each one is slightly different. So 10,200 is a task order specific to the additional project management associated with Utica Park.
Gotcha.
15,000 has to do with the routine maintenance agreement for Angels Creek. So that would be work that and then she has subs that work with her in order to put this agreement together.
All within her current contract, correct? correct?
Right, but we didn't contemplate this additional work
Right.
being done within her contract. That's the 15,000. Then we've got, the Fish and Wildlife, what was that one?
The repair of Finnegan.
Yeah, that's that Finnegan Lane
26,100.
and that's the 26,100. Again, this is something that came out of last year's winter storm. So it was the 22 and then rolled over to 23 winter storms. And so Finnegan floods. And so in order for us to do work out there, we need to get this done. And so we would work with her and again, her subs, in order to get that. So it's those three elements. But those three elements were not contemplated in this year's budget.
Gotcha. The Finnegan, 26,000 can be recuperated through FEMA, correct? Or potentially we identified that as a.
Potentially, but we're having a heck of a time getting FEMA to reimburse anything.
Yeah.
So I'll say possibly, but
You and every other agency.
right.
Well, they make it as hard as possible, so
Yeah.
there's dotting of i's and crossing of t's that change all the time. Okay, so this change, this 51,000 gets us through the end of the fiscal year, Michelle, and into next year, and then we can
Correct.
read that. Mike?
Rebecca, are there any ongoing, issues that we're adding? The one with the Angels Creek and that, is that gonna be an ongoing project that we should include in Amy's contract next year?
No, so the nice part is, this one is one and done.
Okay,
And so we get it done, we go through the work that needs to be, done in terms of us getting authorization from, Fish and Wildlife to go in and clean up the creek. Right now, we do it a little bit, but it's like super peripheral.
right.
And so it doesn't quite do everything that we need it to do. So it would be extremely helpful that we could get that and then we can properly maintain the creek areas.
So once we get that, it's an ongoing, we can continue to do it on an ongoing basis. So it's a one-time expense.
But we just need like the blessing.
Okay.
So really, this is to give us the blessing from the state. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Amy, the one on Finnegan, does that eventually help us with the Angels Creek Trail project?
Yes, it could,
Yeah.
because it would help us in doing right. Basically, because we'll be able to do fill on one side, it will actually widen the traveled way and will help us with having a bike lane on one side. Otherwise, it'll keep eroding back and we won't even have Finnegan Lane to drive over eventually.
Can I just add too that there was a correction made on the resolution on the first line where it says whereas August 1st, before it said March 2024. So I made the correction, advised you all, but I just want to make the clarification for tonight. I did fix it on the website.
And it should be clarified on the agenda, so just at the top.
So
Any
the,
additional questions? Sorry.
the Angels Creek Trail one, that has been one, I think that's been on several lists for several years. And it's just something that has just never been done. So I mean, I think it's worth the investment to go ahead and do it. Just done. And whether we end up having, port crews come in CCC crews come in and doing the work, or we do the work, at least we're doing it. The nice part is we did use the CCC crews, about 2 years ago. And it's pretty remarkable how much more people actually use the creek when you're not
Accessible.
having to dig through blackberry bushes and whatever. And so there is a kind of benefit in terms of creek usage for that one. And we did see some pretty significant erosion issues on Finnegan Lane. So it would be nice to have that as well, just so we can apply for and do work, if we identify it. So I kind of look at Finnegan as potential hazard mitigation type, project in the future, if we can get it engineered and planned out for.
Do we have any public comment on this matter? Okay, seeing none, bring it back for final questions or comments. Anything that I'm looking for a motion to pass resolution 2415. Also, are you looking for the staff recommendation of where the funding source would be coming from, and that would be from the additional outside planning or outside consulting within the planning budget?
Yeah, and like we talked about earlier, as we kind of get through the end of the year, what we can pull from other sources that weren't spent for the COVID relief or any other, kind of more restricted funding, we would pull that in as we do.
I make a motion to approve.
So we have a motion. I'll make the second.
Shemente,
Aye.
Parada,
Aye.
Montada,
Aye.
Herndon.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle.
Okay, item E. This is the approval of resolution 2416 to exempt the City of Angels from the ACF regulation implementation until 2026. Rebecca.
So this is the advanced clean feed regulation that the California Air Resources Board has put out, which is pushing municipalities to a zero emission or nearly zero emission fleet. Calaveras County is designated as an exempt county. However, I wanted to make sure that, one, you knew that, and two, if they happen to ask for a resolution adopted by the local legislative body, that we have one on file. If anyone was watching the news recently, EPA has pulled the plug a little bit on the whole zero emission because of lack of infrastructure. So I don't know what that's necessarily going to do or change with regards to carbs regulation, but just bear that in mind, and we'll just continue to watch it. In the meantime, we are working with the Council of Governments, and we let them know that we are going to go ahead and do the exemption. However, that doesn't mean we want to not do anything until 2026. So we are looking for assistance through the Council of Governments and the consultant that they're using to identify EV infrastructure that might be able to get placed on our public property, whether it's the city offices, whether it's the city hall or the police department or the fire department or public works, and then also expanding out into public property that we own that could be publicly accessible, such as parking lots that we own or public buildings. So we're still continuing down that vein, more in terms of getting infrastructure paid for and built with grant funding. If we identify any of that, obviously you guys will be the first to know because we'll have to come to you to get permission to apply for any of those grants or acceptance. And then obviously wherever those are going to get input. So, but in the meantime, it's an exemption and we'll continue to watch and look and see what will or will not work for our fleet and looking for areas that we can do investment with infrastructure.
Okay, questions, comments?
I support this. I'm concerned about, just like with the greenhouse gas, I'm concerned about the infrastructure. I'm concerned about what this means long-term. PG&E can't keep up with their grid on a hot day, let alone try to charge vehicles, et cetera. So I appreciate this because I believe this is the direction that we need to go. And I think we need to give a lot of consideration and forethought as we move forward, because I think there are a lot of unanswered questions associated with this move. You know, I know that Brad Hart's got a battery operated or electric bus, and it goes 70 miles. And we couldn't send it on a trip. And if you're familiar with buses at all, there is no storage underneath for any, so you never could send it with a football team or baseball team because you couldn't do anything else because that whole bottom compartment is full of batteries. So I appreciate this. I think it's a move in the right direction, and it will give us time, hopefully, for common sense to take over and maybe move to hybrids or do something that seems a little bit more realistic for our area.
Yeah. Do we have any public comment on this? Seeing none. Any additional questions or comments before I ask for a motion for resolution 2416? Okay, I'm asking for a motion for 2416.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Shemente,
Aye.
Torado,
Aye.
Moncada,
Aye.
Hernan.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Item F, this is discussion and direction to staff to advertise the RFP for Booster Way Sewer Replacement Project.
So if you recall, Booster Way is a bottleneck for our sewer infrastructure, and we needed to get this project is in our master plan. It's been on our CIP for several years. And it was just a matter of when we could find funding, we would do it. Then Habitat for Humanity submitted a project, and you know, we really didn't have the capacity to be able to do that project without doing this project. So the understanding is we would move forward with the Booster Way Sewer Replacement Project in order to meet the needs of the Eureka Oaks subdivision. Around that same time, there was a hazard mitigation grant off of the 2019 winter storm, and there was a critical wastewater infrastructure project that was put together that covered East Trunk, Booster Way, combination of water line, sewer line issues that are in our underground infrastructure that was submitted. And it was approved by Cal OES, and then it went to FEMA. And when I came on in 2022, there hadn't been much movement on it at all. Then we started to get requests for information or RFIs, and we all scrambled and tried to respond as quickly as we could. Amy was responding, our water and wastewater engineer was responding, I was responding, public works superintendent was responding, and so that was kind of exciting. And then it just went nowhere after that. So I continued to reach out and trying to figure out what the status of it is. It wasn't dead, but it wasn't really moving anywhere either. And so in the meantime, we needed to move forward with the booster way sewer replacement. At that point, when the COVID relief money came in, the decision was to have almost all of the COVID relief money actually paid for booster way. But when we looked at all the fund balances, I said, well, you know, we still are sitting on a pretty considerable amount of money in the sewer capital fund, and there's also sewer expansion money. So I think that we can take some of the sewer funds and the sewer expansion funds and maybe a little less COVID money and move forward that way. So we've kind of continued down that route. I would say we probably still can shave off a little bit more COVID relief money off of this booster project and push it into some other areas that we need to. However, I also just got some responses on the project that they believe by March, it may make its way through environmental on the federal side. So it's still entirely possible that before we break ground on construction, we might actually get approved for funding. So we have money in multiple places to build it. We have to build it anyway, but it is very possible that FEMA may actually get the package approved in order to align with construction. Don't know. Well, that is to come. But in the meantime, we need to put the RFP out, and then I'll be working with our engineer through Dewberry to answer any questions that come from any contractors that respond. And we would do the construction in the later spring and get it completed this year in time for Habitat. That's it.
So I have a stupid question. Exactly where is it on Booster Way? Is it running down the center of Booster Way? Where's the repair necessary? I've never really understood it.
We're actually gonna take a line and make it bigger. And the line goes across the creek.
Across the creek?
Yeah.
Okay. So by Utica Water and Power,
Mhm.
right there by the bridge?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right here.
So we have gotten all of our right of way, temporary construction easements and permanent construction easements identified, and communication has happened with all of those property owners. Utica will be without sewer while the work is going on, so we will be renting a little portable bathroom thing for them. The other one is Stelty, and then the other one is it Tallendorf? Yeah.
They'll have interruptions, Stelty Park?
No, we
Oh.
just have to get an easement, it's right of entry.
Oh.
Yeah, Utica's the only one that will be impacted service-wise.
And, do we see how long is this project gonna take? Did I miss that in the documents? Does it say how many working days or? I didn't.
I don't recall how many days he put in here.
180 calendar, that's just our final completion within 180 calendar days.
So it is. And then we can't start until, because it's work in the waterway, we can't start until after the permits will allow, like May, or is there restrictions? That's probably all the other documents.
It's on the environmental.
It's on the environmental, yeah.
And is it?
And it has to be
All three permits?
We just need,
Or one?
we've taken care of the permitting. Yeah.
And then all work would have to be wrapped up before October.
October 15th or
Yeah.
something like that?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Those were my questions.
I do, I have two. Have the engineers come up with a cost estimate yet?
Yes,
Okay,
we don't all of
it's okay, it's okay. And second, who is gonna be the project manager on this job?
That would be,
Jubilee?
no, we will have someone, probably through Unico.
What is,
Unico is a sub, that we have through Dewberry.
Do we have to go out and solicit that?
No, that's why
Because of the funding sources.
we incorporated it all in Dewberry's contract. And so the lesson that we learned on, Murphy's grade was,
Do it right the first time?
yeah. And probably don't have your project manager be part of your engineering
that's right.
group. So when we re-procured the engineering contract through Dewberry, it was important for us to, we also don't have a ton of time to keep doing like procurements and RFPs. So the contract with Dewberry actually has Unico, REY, and there is another one in there that we can use for inspection services, project management services, so that Dewberry can stay with the engineering activities.
And do you know, are they gonna bury that pipe that now goes across the creek? It's still gonna go across the creek?
It's gonna go across the creek, but it'll go on the other, I think it's gonna go on the other side of the bridge.
It goes a little bit upstream and across,
Yeah.
and they try to get more of it into the, roadway
Okay,
and
okay.
out of the creek more.
And it has to be bigger.
That's a pretty good. No.
There's worse things than Creek.
It's,
Worse things, but
oh, I'm sure there's worse things, but, yeah. Where are you signing from that?
Do we have any public comment on this project? Seeing none, any final questions?
I just have a clarification. We call it an RFP in the title and then it's an invitation to bid. Is there a reason why we're differentiating the two? This is more me just needing clarification.
So we're requesting proposal. They're gonna come in, it's still gonna be lowest bidder. So whoever lowest bidder is. who's
I'm just asking if we can stick with, I guess, be more consistent. So it's an invitation to bid or it's a,
Okay.
do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm just clarifying.
Any other
It's actually the
questions?
same thing, it's just different way to call it.
Mhm.
For consistency purposes.
So when we publish it, we can just say, we can just change this to request for proposal.
Okay, do we have a motion to move?
don't-
I asked for public comment, I didn't know
Yeah,
anybody.
we don't need a motion on this,
Oh,
it's more direction.
No, I need a motion. It's an action.
So moved.
It's just a motion, minutes.
Okay. So we have a motion to move forward with an RFP for this construction. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second, Rose?
Shemente,
Aye.
Sharada,
Aye.
Moncada,
Aye.
Hernan.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item G. This is another resolution, 2417, adopting the City of Angels social media policy. Rebecca.
So this is the social media policy. We really didn't have our own social media, prior to 2022. Social media, was handled mainly by Destination Angels Company. Have their own social media account. And then they would post things on behalf of the city, but it wasn't the city's social media account. So when we started our own social media in 2022, the one thing that we were missing was a policy. We also have a social media account. The police department has one, the fire department has one. And so we really didn't have any policy that kind of enveloped all of those together. So this is kind of, kind of taking best practices across various entities that we've identified. Legal has gone through it and looked at everything, made some minor tweaks here and there. But in general, no one starts a social media account on behalf of the city without authorization from city administrator. And then kind of to sum it up, if there is a comment on a non-city social media account, the city is just not going to comment. We're not going to respond at all.
Sure.
And so that makes everything a lot easier for me and for staff because it's just understood we're not going to comment on anything other than our own social media posts. The social media posts that we do, if there are comments that are made that violate the policy, using profanity, et cetera, whatever, those things we can restrict if they violate something in the policy. Otherwise, they stay there. If someone is just saying just ridiculous things, but it doesn't violate the code or law, then they're going to stay up, regardless of how irritating they might be. If you don't want people to make comments on social media, then we can certainly turn comments off of our account, but that means no one can make comments of any kind. And then it's just kind of reminding staff, any staff that are engaged on our social media, that it's the city's social media to keep personal opinions and whatnots to themselves, because that's not the place for it. And then ultimately, our website is still the main communication hub for the city. So a lot of times what I'll do is I will post news on our website and then just link that news post on our social media. So it's just in sync with one another. Always directing people back to our website. And yeah, so I think it just kind of contains everything that everyone's kind of talked about. Again, it is in best practices of what we've seen for a lot of other agencies that have used social media for longer than we have. So that's it.
I like it. I like it a lot. So clarify for me, we've had that little hiccup a few times with other social media sites that say the word Angels Camp in it, so people think it's us, or they think it should be us, or we should be commenting. Your strategy is to not engage at all and not direct them to not even try to, okay, just stay out.
Yeah.
I think that's good. I think that's really good. It's just that we do know that there are some of those, there's now going to be more need for some people to say, hey, why don't you reach out to the city? Or, hey, have you, we know who those people are, and that's great. So we're just gonna have to think them more and more when we're out there, because absent you chiming in as the city saying this is the correct answer, or this is where you can find it. If you're not doing that, then
I mean, the way to answer that would also, if necessary, to post something.
We would post something on ours.
Right.
Yeah.
to counteract.
Right.
Yeah,
It's not
to
even
say,
if you're seeing a common, some common thing, response all over the place, then that certainly may warrant that, we probably need to say something, or we probably need to just communicate or educate to the public. The sign downtown that everybody thought was our sign, like that was a perfect example. We just needed to get something out on our website, on our social media, to the press. That is not our sign. And this is what action has been taken. Caltrans is taking care of it. But responding to other people's social media accounts is just not. It doesn't work. It's not working.
So did legal draft this policy, or do we belong to a organization that helps with policy? So this came
I
We
dropped
win that
this.
little website thing.
I drafted it and then, kind of taking different parts from all over the place and then, yes, running it through there just to see if there's anything else that it can pick up. And then kind of read back through it, and then have legal go through it.
I have a bunch of notes to go through. Go, is it okay? Okay.
You're up.
Okay. Under definitions, I have a note here that says, it's no longer Twitter, it's X. So you might want to just.
Oh,
that
okay.
right in there.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not on Twitter.
I am, but for work. Okay, for number 1.6, the social media sites about the Brown Act. So there's been some times where you've shot out an email to us saying, hey, can you share on your social media that there's sandbags available for flooding? And I have, and I'm sure others have too. Is that now not okay to do? If there's something about emergency preparedness, are city council members not allowed to share a city's post?
That's a legal question, but
You're
it's
not allowed
mainly
to-
for,
It's like you asking council members to share what's actually on the city's.
City's website. So we'll have a news on our website that I then put on our social media that says
I don't
sandbags
think
are
that's an issue.
available.
Okay.
That's just,
Ponte Verde.
Just want clarification on that because I'm happy to share things like that, but I don't want to.
Now break, but yeah.
Issue. Okay.
I always thought the Brown Act violations in that were if you commented and then I
Yes.
comment
Right.
yours
And then I
Jen
comment.
comments,
Right.
and Mike
Yes.
does.
because then we're.
I just,
Having
maybe
a
look at that
serious
wording again
conversation.
on, yeah.
So this
What's
is
the number
simply-
again, Carol?
This is simply
1.6.
It's right there.
sharing something that
Take a
came
look at
from
that
the
wording
city
again and just
administrator.
make sure.
Or Public Works or
Right.
something.
Yeah, okay. So just maybe check that wording on that 1.6.
Well, it's to engage in serial meetings.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, where am I at? It's 1.15, but I don't know if that's what this one is. I think I just threw this in here. So one of the things that I have encountered being the administrator of several different social media sites is that you need more than one authorized social media administrator. Because if someone is let go, they have access to that social media site still. They need to be removed ASAP. This act also needs to be added to the list of things that a terminated employee or a resigned employee will immediately be removed from, i.e. computer access, voicemail access, social media access. So that's just a side thing. I don't know if it goes here or if it goes into other guidelines, but I have witnessed where an employee has sabotaged a social
Oh,
media
sure.
account. Okay.
Just from personal experience, it is really, really, really hard to get a Facebook
If nobody's on
if
it.
nobody's on it.
Oh, I know.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so it's good to have like 2 or 3 people on there. I'm still on some of the other places I worked on because they are afraid to let someone else on there and they know I'm not gonna sabotage it. I'm just like, okay.
So our in-house procedure is any software that we have, we always have at least 2 administrators in case someone is out or someone quits or retires, leaves, whatever. So that we don't, I've experienced too many times where there was only one administrator and then that one administrator is gone. And then trying to come in and trying to salvage it is,
Oh, right, because I can actually remove myself as an administrator of a Facebook page. And if there's no other administrator, then you're in trouble.
Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah.
gotcha.
So it's almost,
That's all I have.
thank you. Okay, public comment on this, please? Facebook? Okay, yeah. Bringing it back, looking for a motion or any final comments or questions on this?
So I just have one, I made a note on 1.15. The city reserves the right to change, modify, or amend all or part of this policy at any time. Should that say city council instead of the city, or we just assume that we are the city because?
you
'Cause
are,
when-
you are the city. You're the only body that can actually adopt policy.
Right, so it's okay to say the city and not city council, that's what I'm asking. Not add the word council to that.
Yeah, it's fine because.
75, okay.
Policies are by road run through council.
Okay,
For
correct.
approval.
Was there any, like if we were to, is there anything that needs to be mentioned in here about requesting for a post? If somebody has a, like if I say, hey, I need you to post about whatever, the clock on the wall. Is there a procedure or something about, I don't see that happening, but is there something
No,
that needs to be in here about, like,
You need to have,
X amount of people, all of us need to agree that that should be posted as opposed to me just saying, hey, we gotta post about the clock on the wall.
You mean as direction to Rebecca, that
Right,
it has to be posted?
yeah,
Yeah, I think that's a topic that needs to be discussed when we look at our bylaws.
okay.
About thing in the handbook.
Yeah, otherwise I think it should be this.
Yeah, and Isabel said that it should
that
be.
could be on the website or on an agenda
Yeah.
or
Right.
on, it could be on anything.
Right.
So,
So as long
But
as we
no, that's
address
a
it
great
there,
question.
that is, yeah.
That's a great question, and I think that's gonna require some discussion about,
Okay, looking for a motion.
so moved.
We have a motion
second.
and a second.
Shemente,
Aye.
Sharado,
Aye.
Moncada,
I,
Hernan.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, item H is the travel reimbursement policy. Looking for approval of resolution 2418. Rebecca.
so we didn't have a travel reimbursement policy. And, this kind of goes along with, this was one of the issues, Citygate recognized that the city really didn't have a lot of policies. So, we've been going through, as we have time, various policies, specifically ones that keep, causing us, heartburn. So the travel reimbursement policy was one of them. We needed something in place so it wasn't subjective, so we could hold, staff accountable, so that we were all following the same rules. So we looked at various travel reimbursement policies. I will say it's been something that has been talked about for several years. It's just there was always something else that came up. So this was the first time it kind of made its way here. So again, this is pretty standard language. We kind of talk about, who's eligible to get, to submit for a travel reimbursement, and what they have to do and what the process is, that they're, and what are things that you can't, get reimbursed for, because you'd be amazed the things that sometimes people have submitted for reimbursement. I had someone, not here, but someone submitted a speeding ticket for a reimbursement.
What about parking?
I've gotten parking tickets as well. And the answer is no.
Parking fee, but not parking.
Parking fee, yeah. Put your money in the meter or pay at the parking garage, but don't think you're gonna park for free. Also talking about advances, that was another area of concern is, staff would want advances. Well, if you're gonna advance, that turns into a whole IRS issue and a reconciliation nightmare. And so, I'm not a huge advocate of advances, but I do also recognize that sometimes, there are circumstances where it may need to happen. Then we talk about mileage reimbursement, and, where does that happen? Is it from your house? Is it from your office? All that good stuff. So we also talk about various accommodations, per diem allowance. We didn't have a per diem allowance. And so everything was on a, give me your
So lobster was being paid?
$3.47, coffee, whatever. So this way, it just makes it all very simple. I love per diem, it makes it so much easier.
Non-reimbursement expenses, can't pay for your alcohol or your massages or whatever, but again, you'd be surprised what I've received in my career. And then just making sure that there's accountability, submitting your receipts if you want, to actually get reimbursed for actual costs, and approval and kind of the timeline. So don't give me something 8 months after you've traveled or in the next fiscal year. And then just compliance so that we'll audit it and keep record of everything. So we'll continue to review this annually and update it as we need to if we run into anything else weird or if travel things change. People start traveling by different modes of transportation. I don't really know. That's not covered in here. And then this just kind of helps us. We don't have a lot of people that travel. But as we do, and we have had more people because I really try to push for people to attend trainings and whatnot. But this just keeps everybody on the same field. That's it.
It's like a game show. It's like the voice.
So I was kind of surprised the first time I traveled as a city council person that we didn't have a policy and we didn't have a form to fill out. So I'm actually really glad about this. One of the things I would suggest, and maybe you have this in here, I didn't see it written, but you do have an actual electronic form and some of those things are built in.
Yeah, so
Okay.
Michelle and Rose will actually be working on the form.
Yeah, because
And
like
so-
mileage changes every year and
Yep.
things like that, and it's already like calculated, and I just
Yep.
put in, okay, it was 80 miles round trip, blah, 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 and it already calculates it, it's great, okay, perfect, that's all I have.
I have a couple, of the approval process. It seems, we have included the mayor and I'm not sure how, the mayor doesn't keep office hours. Are we gonna, knock on the mayor's door? I'm not sure why the mayor's included. I could see department heads and city administrator and that, but it seems more of a business task than it. And I don't think it falls under the preview of the mayor.
It's just, and I'll say this, I haven't experienced this here, but I have experienced it in other places where, there was just really interesting,
Training.
travel reimbursements.
Right.
And so it was so what we had to do is we had to put someone, and so, we, at the county, we ended up having the board clerk kind of be the police of all of the board of supervisors reimbursements. But that's because the board chair was fine with doing that. Now, if the board chair had said, no, I want to, go through and address those. And most of those were all beforehand. So it was more of, they wanted to get approval ahead of time because there was just a lot of interesting training, travel. But if there's not a concern with that, we could certainly, we just need someone to be able to kind of.
Because everything's gonna be
Double check 'em.
the supervisor of that individual.
Right, exactly.
So everybody has a supervisor except for probably your requests, and then I would be the individual that would be signing off on yours as
Or-
absent Rose, is that?
Rose or
No, it's
Michelle?
also, I thought,
It's you guys,
Uh-huh.
amongst you.
Yeah, it's
So-
it's the mayor's approving hours travel.
Why would that,
Why,
why
see,
would Rose?
why couldn't Rose, why can't the administrative
Because
staff?
I'm not gonna know I'm not gonna be as proficient in this policy as Rose is, so I'm not gonna say, hey, Shemente, you spent too much money on lunch, or say that, I feel like
Oh, that's a travel request, not the expense report.
they approve the
It's the
process.
travel request that we are,
I see,
yeah, that we're built, that we are requesting to the League of Cities.
Right.
Or we're.
I'm gonna say, great, call.
Great,
Yeah, I feel like,
yeah. maybe there's some things that we have listed that you don't have to actually approve, like League of Cities, because that's kind of something that
It's
you
a
should all be going
no-brainer,
to.
and we talk about it
And it's
here when it's
budgeted.
available,
Yeah,
Right.
if it wasn't budgeted, maybe we would.
No, I think with respect to what she's saying is these off-the-wall strange requests,
From the council.
From the council.
From the council, it's not from.
but yeah, I mean, I think just to protect herself, she needs to make sure that she's gotten authorization or approval for all of hers signed off by somebody. I don't know, yeah, I don't think I need to get knocked on the
I mean,
door.
unless it's something we've requested within her evaluation or
Should be
job
done.
description, and when it's budgeted, like, she can just say, yeah, that's.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a start.
Yeah.
It's better than what we had, which was
Right.
nothing. So,
And, you know, and.
it's a working document, right?
Yeah, it's a working document. And, you know, really in eligibility that there's an approved budget for the requested expenditure. So I think for the most part, what we've done with council's budget is we've identified like, okay, we know, you know, like usually it's 2 or 3 council are gonna go to League of Cities. And so we incorporate that in the budget. So we just know that's historically what happens.
Mhm.
But if like, you know, let's say you go, I want to go to Washington DC. I mean,
Justify in front of them.
I'm gonna go meet with, the senator and
right.
McClintock's office.
I don't want to be the one that says, no, Mike, you can't go to Washington DC. So maybe the mayor wants to do that.
So maybe this is something also that can be looked at in the handbook, like this is the.
This is, good idea.
Like, this is the
When
travel that we,
average.
right, that you should try to strive
Right.
to go to, and then here, like, anything outside that purview, you would have to bring back to.
But interesting enough, in the handbook, it states that if a council member is out of line,
Oh, yeah, I know.
you know, it falls on her, and so that's another discussion that we're gonna have to have. So, okay, I'm okay with that, I understand now why that would be included. I'm on the resolution, and I'm under, the now therefore be it resolved. 2 and 3. Number 2 says the scope, the policy shall apply to all city personnel, including employees, city council members, and commissioners traveling on official city business. I think that same language should be included in number 3, because it says all city personnel. And I really think that same verbiage about including employees, city council members, and commissioners should be included there also. That if you mess up, you're not gonna get reimbursed. I just think it would be clearer and not, you could argue it's understood, but I think just like in 2, it should be outlined who we're referring to.
So number 3 should read,
The first part of it.
all city personnel, including employees,
Oh,
city
oh,
council
okay.
members, and commissioners
Got it.
traveling.
Are required to comply.
Yeah, are required.
Yeah, good catch.
Makes sense. I had one other question, I just noticed my note. It said try to like book under government rates when possible. Does that apply to
Might.
council members?
Yeah.
And how do we prove
That's
that?
me, it's me
Oh,
when
it's you? Okay.
yeah, I try whatever the best I can do to get you guys the cheapest, so.
Yeah.
But I don't wanna put you in the ghetto either, so.
No, and also, like, some things
The mayor's gonna see most.
sometimes when you check in, they ask for your government ID. I do not possess a government ID.
No, and we're working on getting those, so.
So, but it's convenient, or the process is okay to have you put things on your card, and that's
Yeah.
fine. Okay. That's not advanced.
Nope.
Well, that's like having you book our hotel. or-
Yeah.
No, in advance is, I'm gonna be somewhere for 7 days. I want you to cut me a check for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for
Oh,
7
so I can
days.
eat.
And I want all of my mileage ahead of time, and. And so I'm gonna give you a check for
The
$500.
Yeah, no,
Well, some people can't afford it.
I understand.
No, yeah,
Oh, we've opened there, yeah.
yeah.
But the caveat to that is, and if you do
You won't
that,
go.
and you don't go, you owe me $500. And the other thing is, if you do go, you have to show me $500 in receipts.
Are we having, obviously, our handbook, but are employees even to sign this or anything of that sort?
This will have to be
Is it gonna be like an
included in the
MOU or something?
onboarding
Okay,
information, but yeah, we'll have to.
just that they run it and understand.
And social media.
And the social
Okay.
media.
I think I asked for public comment, but I'm gonna ask one more time on this one.
Good
If not-
I like that comment.
Looking for a motion for this travel reimbursement policy.
With the changes that were mentioned.
Correct, with the recommendations and the modifications to 2418.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second, Rush.
Shemente,
Aye.
Sharada,
Aye.
Moncada,
Aye.
Hernan.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, last but not least is this is discussion and direction regarding the use of Zoom or other similar remote meeting attendance platforms during a city council meeting.
Okay.
Deb, talk to us about what this is.
Well, so this is, as you know, during the COVID, we had the governor revise the Brown Act to our open meetings so we could do them all through Zoom. And since then, we have gone, I think, hybrid, or we went back for a while to all in person, then we went to hybrid and, you know, whatever. So this, under the revisions to the law, if all of our council members are here in person, we can require that the public also attend in person. And we can forego having the split hybrid. So the only time then that we would have to allow public to attend via Zoom is if one of the council members is out of the area and is attending via Zoom. Okay, so that's makes for more streamlined meetings and takes care of some issues with people popping up online that are disruptive. And takes up a lot of time and energy from the council.
And I think one of Doug's concerns on this, because he had experienced this at an agency that he was representing, is when you can still allow virtual attendance of the meeting, but you don't have to allow public comment.
That was my
Yes.
question.
And so you could, so his concern is by us continuing to do virtual attendance, that's fine, but when you allow
The comment.
the comment, Zoom bombing can happen. And so Zoom bombing, was kind of all over the place. And so people would get on and then they would just start going off on anti-Semitic,
Yeah.
rants and all this stuff,
And pornographic.
screen sharing or whatever
And you
they're
can't
doing.
shut that off.
Couldn't shut it off because it was one after another with
And they have to 3 minutes. Or is that what you're saying?
No, you can, if it's illegal type of discriminatory conduct going on, you can shut that down, but it was one
the
after
next
another
person would
after
come
another.
on,
So
and
then,
another one, and another one,
next,
and
and the
another
next.
one.
and it was sort of serial, and people, that actually did happen also in Sacramento with the anti-Semitic stuff. Maybe that's what
So they couldn't just end the Zoom part of that meeting legally because of that?
In the whole meeting.
No, not because it would be as though the people were here in person. So just
You would
because
let
one
each person
person is being disruptive or.
We would ask them to sit down or
We would ask them to sit down, or you can make them leave, but you can't just kick out everybody, right?
Sorry, okay.
Were they just sharing their screen then, taking screen control? In terms of like pornographic images like you mentioned?
Just flash them up and you can take them down, but we wouldn't be taking.
They
screen
wouldn't
control.
share the screen, they just had the camera on them.
Oh, behind.
Yeah.
My question was, so Doug has experienced this with one of his agencies. Is this still a phenomenon? Like, is this still happening? Or how many agencies has your firm had this happen to? I mean, is it such an epidemic that we do need to consider shutting down participation?
I'm not sure how long ago that was.
That was, yeah.
That other city that he's talking about, I think it was relatively recent, which is why he and Rebecca were talking about this. But I'm not sure how long ago it was. There was a whole flood of this initially, like there was with all the Zoom meetings. You know, you had Zoom bombers that were, you know, running through.
Well, we also had the Chinese listening in too, but,
But so I don't know, but I can look at that and see if there is, you know, how prevalent this is still.
Well, I would say that we're fortunate that we don't have anybody, so we haven't experienced it. I kind of tend to lean, so the people that I talk to, I beg them to come to these meetings. I say, come to city council, and they say, oh, I can't come to city council, it's in the evening, and I'm having dinner with my family. And I say, okay, well, why don't you Zoom it? Why don't you watch it? Why don't you comment? Why don't you do something? And then people on the park, oh, I can't come to that, that's at 12 o'clock noon. Okay, come and hear the update at Tuesday night. So I feel like cutting off one of the many options is kind of like cutting off our nose to spite our face. I don't think it's a problem, although it clearly could be a problem. I think maybe we should just keep an eye on it and potentially see if we have any. I just see it as a useful tool for people to try to attend our meetings, even though we're not getting a lot of attendance. But with respect that there could be cautious need if we start having bombing going on.
Yeah, you can address it.
No, we can address it. Yeah, that's kind of my takeaway on this, but that's what I have to say.
I also think it's great, obviously, for consultants, because they're not paying that travel time and the mileage not coming up here, especially when they're doing a presentation. So in that regard, I think it's important to keep it going. But same thing, I feel like if we limit one more way that people can't join us, then, you know, it just makes it tougher.
Or the option of they can listen in, but they can't comment, I would be okay with that too. It's just that some people have young children, they have school the next day, there's a lot of
It's dark out and dry.
variables going on, and I like the fact that people can at least listen in if they can't participate with having access to the camera or verbal access. So I'm with you guys, I don't want to really take away.
But I respect that it could be a potential.
Oh, for sure, but yeah. But
I think Zoom was the best thing that came out of COVID. You know, because it allowed more people to participate. You know, it has not been an issue. When I was on the planning commission, it was an issue with the board of supervisors. The board of supervisors or the clerk kind of told the planning commission that, you know, no longer Zoom if you guys so chose to do so, because they got bombed, and that was in the early fall. The planning commission decided that this is a valuable tool, and, you know, we should continue. But I think, you know, we've talked, and I think we're making strides on better communication. And I don't want to see us remove this one other form of communication. There's a young lady, I'm Italian, so I apologize. But there's a young lady that in your park committees, the meetings I've attended, participates via Zoom. And my sense is either she's at work and she has given meaningful comments regarding the project. So I just would not like to take that away. And I think this feels more knee-jerky than what we need to do at this point. And my question to you, and I asked Rose earlier, I get it if we get bombed. You guys are more tech savvy than I am. Probably Rose can't click quick enough, but and it's just like any public meeting. I mean, sometimes we're not going to hear what we want to hear, but when it becomes offensive or derogatory, then we can shut it down.
Correct.
Correct? Okay.
And I guess I do have a question, since you just mentioned it. I think the Calaveras County Board of Supervisors, their meetings, they do something a little different, because if you plan on attending virtually to their meeting, you have until 4:30 the night before to register. And I'm sorry, if you intend to make a public comment, or you wish to make a public comment during the public comment period, you can't just willy-nilly decide you want to talk. They've done something a little different.
You have to pre-submit.
You have to pre-submit your comment.
So that could even be if If we kind of want to start some restrictions, we could kind of do some other things rather than just shutting it off.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I want to do that either. I'm just wondering if that could be maybe some
Well,
other
so maybe we
options
look
later.
at some other options and
If
if we need it.
Yeah.
If we need it. And Doug is who brought this up. I did hear that the Board of Supervisors did have an issue. So they have more attendance than we do. So it's not all that surprising, but I told him I would bring it forward to have the conversation. I am a huge advocate of continuing to have it available virtually. Sometimes we get no one, but sometimes we have a handful of people. I'm still a huge advocate of filming our meetings, because that's another way that a lot of, you might think because no one's on here.
They do.
Sometimes it's quite surprising how many people are actually watching our meetings after the fact. And I would just say, if we end up ever running into an issue, then we may want to think about limiting the public comment or doing you have to submit your comment ahead of time type of thing, but.
Or listen and not.
Yeah.
Okay, public comment on this.
Oh, since I represent the public. I agree.
Did you know you could say come and Zoom this tonight?
Yeah, but that's no problem.
You agree?
Thank you.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's not a problem yet, but eliminating it it's not gonna do.
Thank you.
Oh, Amy might have something to say.
Yeah, just wanted to add that the planning commission, we basically require the applicant to be present. And a lot of times their consultants cannot be present. And so they rely fairly heavily on Zoom in order to have their consultants present. At the same time, a friend of mine's a planning director in a place in Colorado, and they have absolutely had to stop Zooming. They have been bombed just constantly. So,
Maybe because we're talking about it.
Or why we're fortunate to live here.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. All right, so I think we've given direction on that one.
Yeah.
You don't need anything else on that? Thank you, guys. Item 8 is administration report.
Just we're working with everyone to update our MSR and SOI documents for LAPCO. In going through them, they seemed a little light, so we're going through and adding a lot more meeting material in both of them. And I am meeting with our engineer from Jubilee to go through our water and wastewater master plan. I'm probably going to be coming to council here in the near future. Similar to the fact that we're going through our rate study right now, which we have a meeting tomorrow to go over an update with them on that. We have not done a capacity fee study since before 2006. And my concern with that is we do have development going on right now, and that development is using cost information from 2006 and before. So it would be beneficial for us to do an updated capacity study, just because we've added new infrastructure in the ground, things have changed, et cetera, et cetera. I also, when Habitat for Humanity was they invited Senator Alvarado Gil out to visit them, talk about the project, and then go out and do a walkthrough. I made a point of going out and meeting with her because I wanted to talk to her about a couple of things. One, I just wanted to make sure she knew, we supported that project and that we're working closely with Habitat for Humanity. Two, we had just gotten our funding pulled on the water treatment plant project, which I was not really thrilled about. And three, I was a little frustrated how long it was taking for the critical water wastewater hazard mitigation grant that I talked about earlier. And we talked about insurance, and making sure that that project is insurable, right? So she's, I got her in contact with the local insurance, rep, so she can kind of have, a local contact in terms of talking about insurance and things that he's seeing and whatnot. Her staff then has been in the background pushing on, SHPO to get that environmental piece completed. And because they've been pushing on SHPO, I've been able to push on FEMA. And so that's why I think we're gonna see that outcome happen a little bit faster with that alignment. And because I have talked about the fact that we had our funding pulled on that water treatment plant project, they sent out a request to all of the jurisdictions in her district that she has a little over $200 million of earmark funds. And she was opening up opportunity to submit projects. And so I submitted that project, and I did talk to all of you that if I had an opportunity to try to find some sort of earmark funds, I was gonna go after them. So I did submit that. The nice part is it's already packaged and ready to go, so it's not like I had to do much work to do that. And she wants to make sure that it aligns with the district's priorities, which is water, public infrastructure, and affordable housing. And so it really meets all three of those criteria. And then the fact that it lost its funding is also a benefit. So submitted that. I think the deadline for everyone to submit is like March 15th. I got ours in the day after she sent it, or her office sent out that request. So fingers crossed, hopefully we can get that funded, because that would be a huge benefit to us and our ratepayers. And we're still waiting on the community resiliency grant, but they did reach out to Amy with some questions, so that was good. And we're continuing to identify other grant opportunities where we can. And then as we come across them, we'll bring them to you.
Great. Thank you for that. Any questions or comments from anybody on those?
No, good one.
Okay, looking for item 9, council report.
We'll start with.
We're gonna start with you, Mike.
Thank you. I attended the all hazards meeting, and thank goodness there were experts in the room other than myself. After I left the meeting, I started thinking about consultants and how many consultants the city has and what the cost of those consultants are. And are there other ways to achieve what we were doing? Because even though it was my very first time, I just got the impression, and we talked a lot about fire and access and that you know, the chief and Nathan, thank you, were kind of doing all the heavy lifting. So I started thinking, are there some, I don't know how many consultants we have or the total cost of those consultants, but are there some things that we could do internally, even though they might take a little longer to accomplish? Because I'm sure they have been a benefit, but I didn't feel that when I was sitting in that meeting. So thank you for inviting me. You're not going to hear me talk a lot in those meetings, I don't think, because it's a lot, but I still would like us to look at when should we use outside sources and when should we use internal. You know, like could the planning commission take some of that on as a task and look at some of those titles? I don't know, you talk about subcommittees. I mean, I don't know if there's another way, and I know everybody's time is valuable, except I just want to see it's going to bang for our buck if we're using a consultant. So, and my next comment is, during the Caltrans meeting, are we gonna be sitting up there as a council? Or we'll be in the audience?
You'll be in the audience, so it'll be a public meeting.
Okay.
So just like not all 5 of you sit at the same table. But that was the way that we can get the most
Oh, no, that's fine.
interaction.
I'm just curious. That's fine. That's fine.
Thank you. Caroline.
Thank you.
I attended the COG meeting, but I'll let Isabel report on that because I left one of my pages at home, the most important page. And then I did not, I was not able to attend the UWPA meeting. Alvin went for me. I have been meeting quite a bit with Joel and the consultant David French in preparation of my trip to DC. And so I'm going to be meeting with him again on Thursday, just going over everything so that I'm completely prepared for when I meet with the senator's offices and McClintock's offices. So it'll be great. It'll be fun.
Okay, so I attended COG with Caroline, and it looks like, so Caltrans reported Grace, I have Masago, it's probably spelled wrong, but that's who our interim executive district director is. And then Caltrans Quick Maps app, if you don't have that, download it. Apparently it's really informative and very helpful when you're traveling anywhere throughout California.
Caltrans Quick Maps.
Quick Maps,
Maps.
yeah.
It's an app.
So it'll tell you about road work, it'll tell you about delays, anything of that
Oh, wow.
sort. Yeah.
It's really handy when Highway 4 is closing and not closing.
Oh,
There's
There's
only the
also a
big rigs
section
with-
on there that it has like the road classifications on it too, like they're in color, and so you'll know if it's like
If you're
major
pulling a trailer.
collector, a minor collector, or a local road, which is helpful for funding.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, Caltrans, once again, Caltrans Quick Maps. And then let's see, in terms of the county report, so Wagon Trail, they're continuing to work on the Native American findings. Reports are being written about that. He said it's about 3/4 completed. And then there were discussions on the retaining wall that needs to be reconstructed. I believe that was down in like the Valley Springs area of the county. Yeah, I don't remember. And they're still working on Winter Storm cleanup and then some schools with the Valley, or excuse me, some projects with the Valley Springs schools. And then we, Amanda Pollendorf will continue on as chair, and Tim Unities, who is one of our citizen members, is the vice chair. And we received our report. So, and that was for COG, and then our CTA, we received the report, the annual report. They said ridership increased 46% and the Dial-A-Ride program doubled in the last year. And then they said the Saturday Hopper is going to start again on 3/16, which is also Irish Days. So that will help. I know Caroline has experience last year with riding that, so hopefully that should help with congestion, both getting up there and then parking. And in May, the month of May, transit will be free for everyone, just for the month of May. So this is their hope of getting more marketing and getting people, more ridership. And that will also include the shuttle to the fair. And then last Monday, right? Yeah, it's been a week. We had our first infrastructure facilities committee meeting, which once we knew where we were going, we were able to just kind of do some background, and we got some updates on the resiliency grant, which Rebecca just talked about. We talked about the geotech schedule and some things that we talked about in our meeting today, actually. And slowly we'll keep going with that. And getting more information on what's going on with our infrastructure and our facilities. And those meetings, our next one will be on Monday at 8 a.m. and that one will be at City Hall.
Correct.
But then moving forward, we'll be here. That's all I have to report.
And all I have is UWPA. And the first thing we did was a mid-year review, a mid-year budget review. And there were some adjustments. The basic takeaway from budget adjustments were that the water sales were below what the projections were for the year. So that's a volatile water sales. You never know if you have a good water year, bad water year, or whatever. And when we have a surplus, we sell, and when we don't have a surplus, we don't sell.
Is that for agriculture or are you talking about overall
2 other agencies.
to other agencies?
Mhm, yeah, so no, we can kind of budget and predict the agriculture. But our project cost increases have been a little high. That's because the Hunter's fuel reduction is a little high, as well as all the FEMA stuff that we're waiting to get reimbursed. So we're kind of waiting on reimbursements, and we have a lot of out of pocket. So that's hit our budget. The FERC exemption efforts are ramping up, so there's a lot of money being spent there, as well as increased insurance. And they did take into consideration some budget cuts. So all in all, we are still at a neutral on the budget, but we're waiting to get reimbursed on a lot of things. And that's what was going on with budget. We did our officers, our election of officers. Rocky from UPUD is the chair. Caroline's vice, and I remain secretary. And then we have subcommittees. The FERC subcommittee is myself, Gary, and then Tom Quincy is the backup. Budget is Caroline and Tom, and I'm backup. Is it me?
That's what I read.
Okay. We did have our annual audit, and everything was fine there. Letters of support for federal legislation and discussion about Stantec's authorization for FERC exemption support. So a lot of conversation there about Stantec. Stantec is our consultant that is working with us on the exemption, and there's going to be an additional $40,000 that needs to extend to them to get us through the end of April. We are going to likely have an update in April for what's going on with the exemption. That's the deadline. April, May will be when we'll have the big, likely it'll be a presentation here to know what the outcome is with the FERC situation.
Because the comment period ends on March 25th.
So he'll bring it. We'll have it in
Yeah.
April, but I don't know when he'll have the presentation ready to go. But yeah, there's a 30 or a 90-day window for comments of the stakeholders, and we're right in that window right now. So this is super cool. Let's see. Okay, we had an item on the agenda that was about the takeaway from the JPA meeting. And there were 4 things that were decided upon. We did make the, so he had kind of like bullet pointed all of the takeaways that he brought back from the JPA meeting. And then we addressed each one, how the direction was going to go to address those. So the first item was that the direction to Joel was to have scheduled JPA meetings like that again once a year. We hadn't done it in so long, it was well received. So one time a year, and then private meetings as needed when they come up, such as if there's a new council member or a new board member from UPUD, to do private meetings to get them all brushed up on what's going on, but to definitely have an annual JPA meeting. Joel was directed to do City of Angels and UPUD meetings at least twice a year. He had mentioned, I mean, he's done one a year for us, and I think.
Attending?
Yes, coming and attending. I think he was attending UPUD a little bit more because he lives there or whatever, but we did ask for twice a year in-person meetings, and that would be right around budget time. And then again, right around the outage time, because that's when it affects us most. Unless there's other milestones that come up, and then it would be again, so, but at least 2. We did suggest that moving forward into everybody's 218s and what's going on with the JPA members, to move forward with an established fixed contribution so that that's more budgetable and more palatable for everybody. And then we did not move forward with adjusting the JPA agreement in this fiscal year because nobody has a budgeted for that time spent or that attorney time, but it'll be in consideration for next year. So those were the 4 items that we discussed. And then the cool thing is one of the employees at UWPA, who's a Cal Poly graduate, he still has connections with students at Cal Poly. And they, down there, have you heard this story?
No,
So
I missed class, I know you're talking.
Yeah, so they took on a project at Cal Poly to engineer a mini Pelton wheel design for our Ross Reservoir. So the big Pelton wheel is this big giant thing. It's a mini one. I don't know how big it is, but I think it's small enough where it's little, like you could carry it. And they have designed it. We currently at the Ross Reservoir, we have a Powerball design. And this Pelton wheel would be way more functional. It would keep us up and running, and it would be able to speak to our SCADA design and our SCADA communication a whole lot better. And it would likely not have all of the interruptions that the ball does. So they've designed it as a project, and then they've come up with a material cost and installation of only $2,300 to come up and install it for us. And it is being entered in a nationwide competition through the college, the collegiate competition, to be marketed and scored, and it's a challenge, it's a competition. So we're super excited about that, and it's a way to connect with that next generation. And we're talking about maybe doing some marketing about that so that we could get the word out, maybe get the newspaper out there and taking pictures. But what I got for that. So super fun. And that's all.
I did ask Utica and UPUD for letter of support for the water treatment plant project that we get to go when the senator asks for any of that.
Perfect. Okay, Rose, calendar.
Calendar's up there on the board for you. The only thing that I'm missing right now is the infrastructure that we decided on the 12th to have on the 26th at 8 a.m. at City Hall. So there is your February. So we do have the finance budget policy meeting coming up.
Is that here?
Yes.
Okay.
That is in the afternoon. There is, before that is the room is being used by the county, so. I'm hoping that it's not gonna run over. I don't think it will. And then here's your March calendar as well. If there needs to be any changes or have any issues, just let me know, reach out to me.
Caltrans, you have it at 3:30?
I have 3:30 starting because of setup.
Okay, but it starts at 4.
Correct.
All right.
Can you send us that?
Yeah, I can send these. You want me to?
Please.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. What I'm trying to do too is, I wanna say on the February one, like right here, it's got a hyperlink. It'll take you to the meeting.
Okay.
So I'm trying to add those into as I get them, so it'll make it a lot easier for you guys.
It's no date for the board study session yet.
No, I'm still trying to get with Doug as far as the handbook.
Handbook?
Yes, to come up with other dates that we can sit down. That definitely will have to be an earlier meeting. So we're trying to.
Can you jump back on March real quick?
Yeah, can you go back to March?
Okay, thank you.
On that finance budget policy, what time is that?
2:00. They're always at 2:00.
Okay.
But you may be adding, like we did, we are having a bi-weekly now, so you may be adding more, who knows?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't know, that's what everyone would have said before we had,
Right?
city.
Exactly.
And then I just wanted, I sent out the newsletter for City of Angels, and did anyone have a chance to read that? I noticed how many businesses.
I did.
Yeah.
We talked about that. I loved it. I think that was super great.
Met the new owner of the Chevron station, and
Nice.
yeah. So good things are happening.
Oh, so there's a lot of businesses that have opened, there's a lot of businesses that are in the process of
Trying to open.
open.
What are we trying to?
Yeah.
The ice cream shop.
Oh, the ice cream shop.
Yeah, and
Okay.
so,
So has that worked out? I mean, with last meeting or 2 meetings ago, we talked about the restrooms and things. So that's all in the works.
Yeah.
Get it works. Ice cream works.
Okay, let's take on to item 11, correspondence.
None.
No correspondence. 12, future agenda items.
I have two. One, was the resolution in support of the FERC exemption.
That is coming up on the 5th. I'm in contact with Joel, so.
Okay. And the second, I don't know if it needs to be an item to just list all of our capital improvement projects. I'd like to know, I mean, our strategic plan has this whole list with 42,000 more traffic lights or whatever, but, I still would just like, I mean, we're moving forward now with the Booster Way project with water, wastewater. But it would just be good to know what's kind of going on there. Yeah.
So we can do that. We have, as part of the, your binders, there is the 5-year CIP.
Yeah,
that's in
nice,
there.
yes. Yeah.
And then as part of the budget, there is, the capital outlay
Right.
for water and wastewater. There's not a lot, in the annual budget for capital outlay.
I guess I'm thinking more timeline, you know, where are we with projects, especially with the enterprise fund, since that is a self-sustaining fund and we don't have to go after grants, even though grants help offset, yada, yada, yada. So that it feels like we're kind of making progress. And, you know, we were talking about Finnegan Lane right here down the road, down Vallecito Road, right before, or right past, or right before the Larry bypass. Trucks and cars are going off and eroding the edge of that road. It'd be interesting to know, you know, what our folks do. I mean, do they take routine trips around the city and identify areas that need to be repaired? Do you do it mainly through work orders that are coming via the internet? What do we do to look at those areas and say, you know, we need to tag this as an area and identify it as a future project?
You want to talk about that next time?
I'm just saying, I don't know.
The answer is not much.
Yeah.
Because we get like very, very little road funding.
Right.
And we did do a pavement, there was a pavement management report, I think, done in 2019-ish. But it's not very useful. So what we're doing is with iWork, which is we've moved from writing everything on a piece of paper work order system to an actual work order system. So iWork, in addition to GIS data. So we are replacing half the signs that are out there. And so we identified a company that works for iWork. They will come out and they will do a full pavement assessment now, which is actually a really good idea since we've had multiple storms and storm damage that have happened since 2019. So all that information will then be able to go into GIS and iWork. And they use a classification called a PCI. And so what you'll find is you only want to, and this is the sad part, you only want to invest money into roads that are good. Because that's the most cost-effective repair that you can do. Unless you find some sort of like capital money fairy, you're not going to, you'll never have sufficient funding to fix failing or poor or fair roads. So then you have to look at, you know, kind of what's getting travel. The other problem with Vallecito, not all of Vallecito was ours.
No, I know that. But I think the portion that is, where the edge is eroding is ours. And it has to do with heavy trucks pulling over, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So.
RVs.
Yeah, and
Mike,
RVs and things.
You are raising a good point though. So after our subcommittee meeting, because we talked about doing deep dives into our capital improvement projects, and after sort of thinking about it and wondering if maybe that's not so much a subcommittee thing, but actually, I know we developed these subcommittees in an effort to try to alleviate some time and longevity here, but I'm wondering if things of that sort, like deep dives into what's going on, are actually beneficial for the entire council as opposed to just the 2 members that are sitting on these subcommittees. meetings.
I agree.
So that's probably something that we can talk about on Monday a little bit more, but that's definitely having, you making that comment today is just, it's something that resonated with me.
Thank you.
The last one of like, maybe this isn't so much a subcommittee, this is more a full council. And just knowing that obviously we're gonna be here for a longer period of time on those meetings
Right.
to go through
To
those.
go through it.
And then maybe we can just discuss, at our meeting to what extent,
The deep dive.
the deep dive, yeah.
Yeah. Just because it obviously is beneficial for all of us up here and public too, right?
I'll listen.
All right. Well, I think we wrapped it up. I think we're ready for a motion for, any other future? Oh, any other future items?
I think something.
Yes, so basically go.
No. Looking for a motion for adjournment.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
And basically.
I.
And we send out email blasts all the time.
And it was here.